I don't know this.
You don't know the song?
Teach me.
Da hu do res fa hu fo res. Welcome Christmas Day. I'm the most you all know this because as Em said earlier, Christine, I keep asking you to not sing.
Well, I just keep saying, like, in our relationship, I think you've really met your quota when it comes to how many songs I want to hear from you. But you keep finding ways to exceed it.
Yeah, our listeners feel exactly the same way. And I just, as you said, I shan't and I shorn't.
That's exactly right. Well, for those of you who don't recognize, if you're watching YouTube, you might notice that we're dressed in the same clothes as our last video. And it's because we are recording these back to back. So you
haven't showered.
Everyone else has had a week to really process what Christine singing sounds like. I have had 5 minutes. So
if you didn't listen to our holiday episode, you really missed out on a doozy.
You really did. It was, I would say, easily one of my top 5 favorite episodes. That was one of my favorite stories you've ever covered, which was like not shocking because no one actually died in it, which is great.
Yeah, it was. And there was a dog that ended up just being a happy, non-abused dog.
But if there's one thing that I love about you and our friendship is like your wildly, unnervingly creative mind.
Aw,
and so
that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me, Em.
Well, so it was very nice to see it in action there because you got to be creative with your story this time.
Well, it's frightening that you and I have somehow the universe has allowed us to be in one project together, aka this podcast, because like after the escape room, I think everyone is fully aware of how unnerving your mind and creativity are. And so if mine are the similar status, or at least in your mind, then we must be a tornado of chaos.
That was poetry right there. You know, we have said, I remember last time we had a sleepover, I was like, can you imagine if we were enemies? Like we would be our perfect rivals. Like we would like
destroy each other and ourselves in the process.
Royally fuck each other up. But like in like the most creative, sinister ways.
In like a fun way.
Like thank God the world decided to put us on the same side because we would be like mortal yin yang perfect enemies.
Yeah,
sure.
And I think, honestly, like we've had this conversation and we've talked to people who are like psychic mediums who are like, oh, you've lived multiple lives together. And we're like, yeah, we know.
I was like,
trust me.
Don't worry. This is not a new occurrence.
I've been dealing with this bullshit for millennia. Don't worry about it.
I feel it all the way to my very fucking core that I cannot.
My soul can't escape.
I could literally drop dead in this life, and she'll just be there tomorrow when I open my eyes in a brand new one.
Oh my God, it's true. Anyway, welcome to 2021, everyone. Aren't you happy to be ringing in the new year with us? A year that we refuse to make predictions about because last year it didn't go so well.
I'll predict one thing this year, and it's that I'm going to eat a lot of really delicious sandwiches.
Let's hope you don't fuck that up too.
God, please don't let me like all of a sudden like have like a gluten intolerance or
There's
something.
Like a bread shortage. Yeah. You never know what you could do with those words.
I have no idea how damaging one sentence could be manifested.
Yeah,
that's
powerful.
Actually terrifying. I would like to eat a lot of sandwiches this year. That's really my only takeaway.
Yeah, why don't we just vision board stuff and like let the universe do what it will, rather than...
I'd like the podcast to go well, and I would like to eat a lot of sandwiches. That's pretty much it.
Okay. I think I might actually put both of those exact things on my vision board and leave it at that.
Perfect.
I wanted to tell you since I didn't get to mention it. So we're recording this like before Christmas, shortly before Christmas. So Em asked earlier, how's Gio doing? And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to tell you on the show. He's at doggy daycare today because we're recording and I was able to take him out of the premises for once. And they were like, would you like to sign Gio up for pictures with Santa? And I about fell out of my fainting couch.
What evil wench would say no to that?
Can you imagine?
Can you imagine if someone was like, I don't participate in that.
No, I don't. And I truly, I was like, wait, what? And they're like, here's a sign-up sheet. And oh my God, I put him on that little sign-up sheet and they did a secret Santa, like a secret Santa pause. And we had to buy a toy and put like what size range the dog that it goes to, and then write like love Geo, and then he's gonna get a toy. It's like the cutest thing ever. And every day they post photos. I mean, I'm just enamored with this place.
My heart is like dripping into my stomach because it's so melty. Like I mean, really what we were just saying about how powerful our collective mind is. Can you imagine if we ran like a dog service?
God.
The shit that would come out of us every holiday would be noodles. Fucking noodles.
Noodles, all linguine, all the way to the top.
The linguine, the fettuccine, you know, all of it.
The bow tie.
Only on classy affairs.
Doesn't have quite the same ring. But yeah, so hopefully by the time this episode comes out, I'll have a copy that I can put in the YouTube video. I hope it works out. I mean, this is my first year there, obviously, but I think Gio knew, because on the way he was like shaking with nervousness, and I was like, maybe he knows that I've done something terrible to him and made him like approach a stranger.
I was going to say, maybe he's so excited, but you're right. He probably knows you well enough to be like,
knowing Gio,
you fucking stirred something up that now I have to get through this.
It's true. He's like, I'm just as antisocial as you, Mom. And yet somehow you force me into these scenarios where I have to. During
quarantine, when like he has seen very minimal people, and now a big burly red suited person is going to be like, sit on my lap.
Oh my God. But I've seen some of the other dogs who signed up earlier, and it is the cutest freaking thing. So I will hopefully post that somewhere on social media, and we can post in the video.
You know what I would like to do next year, if this is at all possible, and like we just happen to be in Cincinnati near December at all, or Cincinnati, yes. you're wherever the hell you live anymore. I think it would be precious at some point, and if it doesn't happen near December, we can chop it to be a different situation. I would like to be dressed as Santa in your home and then take off the Santa clothes and surprise Gio.
I was like, where are we going with this? Okay, got it.
I think it would be precious if like Gio, we took a picture and then like you got like a live reaction of him realizing it was me, because we hadn't seen each other in so long.
Right. I mean, I think since he's a dog, he'll probably smell that it's you, but we can
I'll
pretend.
Roll around in some dirt or something. It'll be.
He'll love you even more.
He won't even notice.
I will say too, just like on that note, a lot of people are very baffled, and like understandably, because I don't think I ever explained this properly, and I think some people are concerned because now they think I've moved again to another place. Like everyone's just very concerned.
Oh, because I keep fucking up the city that you're in. Is that why?
No. Because like I said, oh, by the way, I'm in Kentucky, and like I guess I never clarified that, and so now every time I tag it on social media, people are like, "You moved again? Like, why do you keep moving?" Okay, I only moved once, but as someone who doesn't know geography myself, I shouldn't have assumed everybody knows this, but Cincinnati is like right on the border of both Indiana and Kentucky. So I'm about 10 minutes away from downtown Cincinnati, but on the Kentucky side. So I'm technically in northern Kentucky, like on the river. But like I can, like, it's like literally you can walk across the bridge to Cincinnati. So I'm closer to Cincinnati than I lived even when I grew up here. But technically, my state of residence is Kentucky. So to clarify for anybody who's worried that I'm like just upsetting
all over the fucking place,
livelihoods all over the place. Well, I'm still in the same place.
And if you are like, you were listening forever ago and now you're listening to like this random brand new episode. Yeah, Christine did leave, but we also nothing has changed.
Yeah, nothing's changed. Clearly, as the amount I sing has just increased.
Well, that was one of the reasons why we waited until after a few months of you getting settled in, because nobody really seemed to notice that anything changed.
No, I know.
And the point was, so like if we announced at the time that you were moving, we were afraid people would think, oh, now the dynamic is going to change.
We were worried people would read into things.
Yeah, but we wanted to beat you to the punch and be like, you had no idea she moved forever ago and nothing has changed. So you don't have to worry. And the coolest
part, I think, one of the coolest parts is that I was on Instagram like the month I moved here last spring, and suddenly Kenyon from Wine and Crime posted like, in our new home, and she lived in South Africa, and all of a sudden she's like, in our new home, and it was like Louisville, Kentucky, and I went, wait, what? And I'd literally moved that week to Kentucky, and I was like, wait, so I moved from Los Angeles, she moved from South Africa, and we both ended up in Kentucky?
I feel like if quarantine weren't a thing, the two of you would have a set like weekly coffee arrangement.
I know. A wine arrangement, but yeah, okay. Close enough.
Well, let's be
But
real.
So I was just like this, and she was like, "Oh my!" We tried to make plans because the IKEA is up here, and so she's like, "Well, Zach and I want to go to the IKEA, so like when we come up, we'll like meet up." But obviously, then quarantine got thing messed up. But
that would be precious. So if you had like a standing weekly rendezvous together.
Listen, I don't know how she feels, but I certainly plan on it. So, but I was just like so excited and surprised because I'm like, I felt very isolated out here. And now I have like a neighbor, and it's literally like an hour and 20 minutes from me. Like it's not far. So I was just like,
especially now,
this is the weirdest.
Maybe to other people that's far, but like, let's remember, like you have been perfectly primed as an LA driver.
Yeah,
But, like,
that's not far from
an hour drive is just like what you
like
do.
Em would drive an hour to my house to record.
Exactly.
Like,
It would just be like me driving over to your place to have dinner. So
yeah, exactly. Or to like, borrow $500 or whatever that one occurrence where you appeared at my door.
I'm glad you mentioned that because every single time that memory comes to mind, I'm like, I don't have a better friend because I really
I don't know about that.
Straight up
sang at you.
I straight up showed up uninvited to your home while you had other people over, and I said, I need $500 in cash immediately, and you just fucking gave it to me.
Well, I wasn't gonna be like, no.
I mean, that's a homie. We're like, no questions asked. Clearly, you're asking for a reason.
I mean, you were fortunate in the fact that I somehow had $500 at this point in my life. If you had asked me a year before, you and I both would have been like, well, neither of us have $1.
I'd be like, I can offer you 1 penny and you can find the rest on your own. Yeah.
Which is precisely how the podcast started, by the way. We put our entire $200 savings into this show. So.
$250. I had
$250.
The day after we bought our equipment and I gave you $250, I literally had $18 to my name.
Yep. Yep. And I remember ordering food and being like, I have to order a small pizza because I cannot afford a medium. And that's the end of
and
the
not
story.
like I can't afford it because I'm trying to budget things out. It's like, no, I can't. I do not have
literally
the funds.
It will bounce. Yeah. So anyway, sorry, that went way on a tangent. But point being, to clarify, Gio is currently with Santa Claus.
Oh, right.
Being traumatized, my child, as you can imagine, I'm traumatizing him. And I'm in snowy Kentucky where it's snowing. And
I'm wearing a sweatshirt. I'm wearing a sweatshirt in LA right now, and that was bold of me because it's a little too warm today. So that's where we stand. But
nothing has changed.
I do think that we should find a way when I am reunited with Gio, we should do it in a very cute, obviously filmed way.
Oh, we should probably hire an entire TV crew. Am
Eva,
I right?
Get on it.
Eva?
Okay.
Eva, you're a TV crew now.
Welcome, Eva. You produce everything, actually.
Also, you have to dress as an elf so that everyone's in on it, Eva?
Oh, actually, wait a minute.
She
Eva,
would be like a cute elf, though, right?
She'd be a precious elf. Actually, that feels like the exact mythical creature she could be of all of them.
Maybe she is like a little fairy elf or something,
Eva, are you an elf? Eva, okay, step 1, get a polygraph, and then we're going to test to see if you're an elf. Step 2, get an elf outfit. Step 3, produce the rest of our lives on camera. And
also, step 4, let me play with the polygraph because I've always wanted to play with one.
And then step 5, please never, ever, ever leave us because I won't know where to return the polygraph machine, so you're going to have to do that also.
Sorry, we just called you an elf. Please don't leave me.
Yeah.
Today's program is brought to you by Athletic Greens, the most comprehensive daily nutritional beverage I have ever tried, Em has ever tried, RJ, Blaze, my sister, etc.
It's falling out of the cabinets. It's rolling down the hallways. It is just, all over the countertops. You look around my apartment, all you're going to find is Athletic Greens.
Yes, I have the container in my fridge, and I love it when my mom comes over and like opens my fridge, and I'm like, oh, do you see my Athletic Greens and how nutritional I'm being? It's a bragging point for me, honestly.
It really is. If you're ever not feeling like you have enough focus, if you're feeling like you're super sleepy, or if you're feeling like you just need a little extra nutritional boost to your diet, Athletic Greens can do all that for you. It's done literally all those things for me. With one tasty scoop of Athletic Greens, it contains 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients, including a multivitamin, multi-mineral, probiotic, greens, superfood, blend, and more. And they all work together to fill the nutritional gaps in your diet, increase energy and focus, aid with digestion, and supports healthy immune system, all without the need to take multiple products.
I think that's the best part. It's just a one and done, and it tastes good too. So it's like an enjoyable one and done. Highly recommend. And right now, Athletic Greens is doubling down on supporting your immune system during the winter months by offering our audience a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase if you visit our link today. And that way you'll never have to buy vitamin D again, basically.
Simply visit athleticgreens.com/drink and join health experts, athletes, and health-conscious go-getters around the world who make a daily commitment to their health every day.
That is athleticgreens.com/drink and get your free year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs today. So now that I live somewhere cold, I'm actually having to hunker down for the winter, believe it or not.
Oh, hunker.
I know. It's like hibernation up in here. And thankfully, I can leave that up to Burrow because Burrow makes foolproof furniture. It's durable, it's comfortable. They make sofas, sectionals, and more. And they deliver it directly to your door. So whether you choose their all new super cozy range collection or the award winning Nomad collection, which I love personally, everything from Burrow is designed to go perfectly together and built to make your life easier.
I mean, we have a Burrow couch. It's our main couch in our, and that's why we drink, podcast apartment. Very comfy. Literally, you can charge your phone in it. I mean, come on now. Like, I mean, it's so comfy. It looks really cute. It's like just perfect podcast apartment material if you happen to have one of those for yourself.
That's right.
So Burrow is practical and adaptable. You can assemble a Burrow sofa literally by yourself without any tools or help in minutes. Can confirm.
I did it.
We have done that.
I did it.
Okay. I've watched Christine do it, but she did it so fast.
By myself.
And you can add seats or rearrange them from love seat to sofa to sectional and back. So, I mean, it's like super customizable and it's really simple to build.
It's true. It's perfect for renters. It's perfect for commitment folks because you can like move it around, you can rearrange it, change styles, etc. People in walk up, so you don't have to carry like a full couch up and down the stairs. Pets. Junie lived on that couch for a very long time. And as always, every single Burrow order includes fast and free shipping.
And it really was so easy to even be able to break down in your old house to then bring to the podcast apartment. You could break it down and then put it right back together, and it was like so easy compared to having a big bulky couch.
Right now, you can save an extra $75 off your purchase by going to burrow.com/drink.
That's BURROW.com/drink for $75 off.
Okay, let's start the show.
Okay, let's start over. Actually, editor, take every single thing out. Welcome to And That's Why We Drink.
Where we only stay on topic.
Where we only talk about everything except our stories, actually. Okay, so let's get into this. I wanted to do another wintry-esque. I don't know if this is a wintry thing. I wanted to do another cryptid of sorts. I did the Yeti last week because it was the closest one to Christmas, and I was like, okay, let's do something wintry because I can't.
Snowy.
I don't have too many Christmas stories I get to cover. And so I wanted to do the Yeti for some reason was like my version of like a Christmas episode, even though it wasn't very Christmassy.
I think it fits.
Well, I wanted to, I'm very late to the game now. I'm literally like 3 weeks behind, but I was like, I should also throw in like for other holidays, like a Hanukkah one or something. So welcome January 2021. Now I'm going to cover Hanukkah. This is
just a very, very early Hanukkah story.
Look, you're Jewish all year long, so really this can be special for you anytime. Okay.
Still seeking mensch on a bench.
Still looking for my mensch, if you know what I mean. So this is I was trying to come up with something for like people outside of like celebrating Christmas, because I used my Christmas episode on, I don't know, it felt Christmassy, so I'm trying to do something other than that. So
spread the cheer. I got it.
Spread the cheer, and the new year. So
what are you covering? I can't figure it out.
This is the Golem. Golem.
Oh, okay.
Have you heard of the Golem?
I feel like I've heard of it, but I don't really know. I mean,
the Golem's really made his way through pop culture.
LOTR.
What is that? Lord of the Rings?
Lord of the Rings.
Golem is different than Golem. But close.
It's not like based on it. Oh, okay.
I would say in a very loose way. I would say.
Okay. Then I probably don't know much.
I would say Golem. He's known to be a protector. So if Golem was supposed to like protect the ring, we could put that together.
I thought he was based on like a character, like a mythical.
Well. Apparently, we're not going to talk about it today, except in this moment.
What do I know? Don't trust me on any of this, especially pop culture.
There's definitely a similarity between Golem and the Golem. So,
okay.
Also, really hope I'm saying it right. I checked Google and typed in Golem pronunciation, and this is what I got.
I think that's right.
That feels right.
Again, don't trust anything I say, but I think that's right.
Don't trust anything I say, and I'm only like 50% of the information over here on this podcast. So, okay, the Golem. So. Very similar in a way to Frankenstein because they are both they were life created by man-made created. So there are some similarities that you'll hear throughout this that have to do with Frankenstein. But So the golem is a creature made of clay, and that has been magically brought to life. And the term golem is Hebrew for basically incomplete or unfinished. And the golem is said to appear, or at least the phrase or the term is said to appear at least once in the Bible in Psalms 139:16. And again, meaning like unfinished substance or shapeless mass. But so let's do some history. So this is not the first mention of the golem. This is just one of the most popular stories of the golem. So it's not totally chronologically correct today. I'm just going with like, if this were like a shopping site, I'm not going from oldest to newest. I'm going to like bestseller, you know?
Featured. Yeah. Got it.
A trending, if you will. So, so this is one of the main stories. This is from the 16th century, and this is the Golem of Prague, arguably one of the most popular stories of the Golem.
Ooh, okay.
So in Prague at this time, the Jewish people were having a good moment, finally, because in history, they really just can't catch a fucking break.
Yeah.
So
you could say that.
They're enjoying a golden age of security. And however... Record scratch.
Oh, no.
The Jews had a pretty tough time all of a sudden. So there are rumors are starting to spread that the Jews of Prague were performing blood libel, which, do you know what that is?
No.
I did not either so you are not alone. Blood libel apparently, and these were rumors. This is not what was happening, but they were being accused of this.
Got it.
You basically using the blood of Christian children in their rituals. So basically,
oh my God.
They were told basically now all the Christians are saying, "Oh, they're killing us. They're killing our children, and they're using their blood in like Jewish, which apparently means satanic rituals."
Yeah, so it's like satanic panic, but
the Jewish version,
and like probably worse. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. And yikes. So. Satanic panic. I just thought of like satanic panic, and then I thought, but with like dreidels. I was trying to think of like Jewish things, and then I thought of Satan with a dreidel. It got really weird in my head artistically, but now I want it as a poster of like
no. Like let's get a whiteboard in and just like you can sketch it out.
Do a real Pictionary situation here where we've got like, you know, everyone except like the Christian children, apparently.
Yeah, well, we have the time to brainstorm for hours and hours and
hours.
We've
got nothing but time on this podcast. You refer to episode 202 where it was 4
Eva's like,
hours long.
Please stop, just go.
Okay, so yeah, so rumors are it's not a cute look for the Jews right now.
Sure.
And so obviously they are terrified of violence ensuing or riots or some sort of like Jewish massacre. And so needing a symbol of hope, the Jewish people, there's one rabbi named Rabbi Lowe who decided that he was going to help his community come up with this symbol of hope. So Rabbi Lowe wanted to protect the local Jewish people from, like I said, attacks on them. And this is kind of going off of, I guess, this is I don't know if it's artistic license or it becomes a little magical, just so we're clear. So I'm not going to base this entirely on in fact. This is just the story that has been passed on. Okay. So the rabbi or rabbis in general are seen as, you know, nearly godlike. So they had this power, this superpower of sorts, where they could control the elements. Mm. And so this one rabbi, Rabbi Lowe, he brought 2 other rabbis with him down to the river, and 3 of them represented 3 of the 4 elements. So they represented water, air, and fire. And then for earth, they started taking clay, like kind of like wet ground by the river, and the 3 of them started molding this man-made creature out of the clay. So all 4 of them together made the elements.
Okay.
And so they molded this clay thing into a human shape, and then they performed this ritual. And this is basically, this is a quote from, I think, the book itself that tells the story. Lowe takes 2 of his pupils down to the river where there is a lot of mud. He shapes figures out of the mud and encourages them to do the same. This is a ritual found in earlier sources. He and his pupils walk around and around the rudimentary form of the golem, and then it happened. A golem appears from the earth and turns reddish. Mm-hmm. Light appears around him. He rises even higher and goes redder still. He then begins to breathe. It's not like God. Breath isn't blown into him. Instead, he sits up and then stands. He is very big, and they already figured he would be naked, so they brought clothing for him. I like how they figured he'd be naked, even though they literally made him naked with their hands. They couldn't just with an extra layer throw like a flannel on him or something.
Like a clay poncho, yeah.
Let's see. They give him a name, so he's not actually called Golem. They called him Joseph or Yosef. They take him along and tell him what he needs to do, and he's just supposed to sit there well-behaved in the synagogue, and when they need him for protection, they will call him. So,
that's a good gig. Okay.
Yeah, so they were like, you're just going to be here for protection if something were to happen to the local Jewish people. Until then, just, sit pretty.
Just like J-Chill, you know?
Just NMJCU, you know? So the golem is now alive. Apparently the golem had superhuman strength. Also, some sources said that it had the power of invisibility, if it wanted to do that.
Okay.
The golem looked out for people, once even rescued a girl from being kidnapped by people. And so he was just kind of almost like a little Jewish superhero.
Love it.
I do too. So there are a few ways to bring a golem to life according to I guess Jewish traditions. The one that the rabbi did, however, was he put a shem, which is like a clay tablet. He wrote God's name. Or wait, hang on. Yeah. Okay, so it's a clay tablet bearing the name of God. Sure. So he put that shem under the tongue of the golem. So basically, wrote God's name, put it under his tongue, and that was kind of what activated the golem. And when he would take the shem out, he would just kind of turn to stone and not do anything. It was like he was just
it's like his power switch.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So either he was alive or he was just a stone creature.
Got it.
And the way that the rabbi in this story did, he would put the shem either in its mouth or not. The golem, I was going to mention this later, but this just seems like an appropriate time to say it. The golem is also mentioned in a lot of pop culture, which I'll get to, but one of them is The Simpsons, and there's a whole episode where they find the golem and they communicate to it by leaving notes under its tongue.
Oh.
And then or they're able to control it by saying wake up or meet me at midnight and
I haven't seen that.
And putting That's the funny. Note under it. And then Marge and Lisa make out of Play-Doh a female golem for it to have a girlfriend. So
okay, that sounds pretty on point, yeah.
So just so you know, that's one place people have probably seen the golem before. So the rabbi would put a shem under its mouth, and that's how it would light it up. I guess like a Christmas tree. Other ways to bring it to life are to recite the proper letters of God's name, putting God's name on their forehead, or writing E-M-E-T, so Emmet sort of, on its forehead or its body in some way, kind of either chiseling it in or, but the words, they're the letters E-M-E-T, which I'm going to get to that a little bit later, but it spells the word truth, and it's Hebrew for truth. And so that story basically ends where the golem saved the day, but he apparently got too powerful, or was because he was so successful, the rabbi decided to keep him for too long. And there's a concept where the longer the golem is alive, the more powerful or the more dangerous it becomes. It's not because it slowly builds strength or anything, but it's kind of the Frankenstein mentality of it starts developing human tendencies, and it strays from being strictly obedient for what its purpose is.
So every human's fear about AI and kind of stuff.
It just starts thinking for itself, and if it doesn't want to obey you, maybe it won't. So
goose cam.
He found that out the hard way, and basically this golem started terrorizing the town. And
then he kept closing his mouth so nobody could pull the thing out.
He went,
he was no.
Like a dog with a TV remote that it shouldn't have. Like Geo with socks.
Yes, precisely. And much like a golem or a Frankenstein's monster, Geo definitely does not do what he's told and decides that he has superiority over everyone. So fits pretty well.
So that's exactly it. But somehow the rabbi found out that the golem was terrorizing the town, was able to pry its mouth open and get the shem out and turned it off. And now there's this folklore that he left that shem in the old synagogue in Prague, and you can still, which I don't know why they don't call it the old Synaprague.
Eva, write that down. We need to write a letter to Prague.
Eva, we have to build the Synaprague immediately.
We need to call the Prague.
The construction company of Prague. Okay. Yikes. So there's a legend that it's still upstairs in the attic and just kind of waiting for the next time it's needed to protect the Jewish people.
Okay.
But I really went out of order, so let me read through my own notes. I just really decided to run with it. So hang on.
What, I derailed you? You don't say.
Okay, so okay. So here's a fun fact about that story, is that Rabbi Lowe, who I'm pretty sure was real, I think I'm gonna commit to that. He was real. Rabbi Lowe was real. But he actually didn't believe in miracles. He he condemned magic, and he never wrote about the golem. So this was almost like a story where someone really respected the rabbi and just kind of inserted him into the story.
Oh, interesting.
Of like he helped create a protector for the Jewish people when they really needed it.
Oh, okay.
So people say that the rabbi told this story, and it's a real story. But in 1909, really what happened was that a manuscript from his son-in-law was, quote, found or discovered, but like nobody's ever actually seen the legitimate manuscript. It's just like this is how like the legend has kind of grown of like, oh, well, there's no like real hard context where this story existed, but it's allegedly from this manuscript that was found and then went missing again. Sure. So apparently this manuscript was discovered by a guy named Udal Rosenberg, and he ended up using that manuscript he discovered to write his own version and publish it as a real manuscript. And it was called Golem and the Wondrous Deeds of the Maharal of Prague. The Maharal of Prague is Rabbi Lowe.
Oh, okay. Got it.
So the Wondrous Deeds of the Rabbi Lowe. So he wrote his own book after a potentially fake manuscript he potentially never discovered.
Fun. Got it.
I think he just needed like an explanation for like how he was inspired to write this.
Yes.
So anyway, so he published it, and when the book came out, or when he was writing the book, actually, it was at the same time that there were more blood libel accusations, and then there were also problems in Russia for Jewish people. So like, I think he was writing during that kind of headspace where he was like, I'm going to write something about this golem and make him look like a protector. Just because it's what we need. So this is why I mentioned earlier that this is not in chronological order, because I think a lot of people would be confused here. Before this whole story about Rabbi Lowe and creating the golem and now he's in the attic, that was a story after the golem had already existed, but it was known beforehand as more of like a servant that you could create to help you with labor. And then this Rabbi Lowe thing, that's where things changed, because now the golem was seen as this like protector or guardian of the Jewish people. And that's why it's probably best known, because all of a sudden the golem was like this revered character.
Like the superhero.
Yeah. So, and also the relocating of Jewish people for many horrible reasons. And other, just general reasons. Just the general spread of Jewish people across the world has helped perpetuate the story of the golem. Sure. So that's probably how it's best known, is just through word of mouth. Before, like I said, before the Rabbi Lowe story, the golem was seen as a servant to help aid Jewish people with their work. The earliest mention of the golem is actually in Germany's Rhineland in the 12th century. So that was 4 centuries before the Rabbi Lowe story. And
oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
At the time, there was this movement for Jewish people called the Pious of Ashkenazi, which, fun fact, 23andMe tells me that I am 49% Ashkenazi.
Nice. I am only 10%.
Oh, 49. No, I'm 51, and then I'm 49% my dad. So I'm technically more mom than dad, which is fun.
Linda wins.
I was like, by like 1%, I beat him out.
I love that.
So anyway, 51% Ashkenazi over here. I had also at ISS, someone else there was had Ashkenazi, like was a majority Ashkenazi Jewish or something. And every time he saw me, we would walk past each other and say Ashkenaz, and I don't know why. And it felt, I felt like if anyone else said it, it would have been slightly anti-Semitic or something. But like, it was just like the way we like,
you like bonded over it.
It's the way we recognized each other. Every time I see Ashkenazi now, I just hear his voice scream Ashkenaz, and I'm like, that feels wrong to do, but
it's like a fist bump.
Yeah, I was like, I wonder how other people feel about this, but it was done with love, at least. So between two Ashkenazi people. So
also, anyway, can I just say one thing real quick? I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
Did I fuck up? Did I say something stupid?
No, you didn't at all. I feel really bad that I'm interrupting you.
No.
But so like when you were mentioning like the exile of the Jewish people, I was like, oh my God, because so my mom's PhD was in like German Jewish exile literature.
Oh, great.
And so I texted her just real quick, like, what was your PhD in again? Which I was like, this is a mistake to like open that door. And she literally just started sending me pictures of her PhD or her like
for a second I thought you were gonna say she just sent me pictures of the Golem, and I'd be like, oh my God. Can you imagine if Dr. Renata of the Golem
she sent me pictures of her dissertation. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna like read it on air. I just wanted to know.
Ask her right now though what she knows about the Golem, and then maybe at the end we can have like an excerpt of her if it sounds.
Do you know?
What do you know about the Golem, or
how do you spell that?
Golem. E-M.
Oh, E-M.
I just want to see what she'd say, because if she has something to add.
I'm sure she'll have something to add, whether she knows what it is or not. But yeah, her dissertation was on the change of the religious voices through the trauma of exile in the works of Jewish writers Elza Lasker-Schuler, Nelly Sachs, and Barbara Honigman. So,
wow.
You know. Anyway, I just heard you say like Jewish exile. And I was like, I would be remiss if I didn't give my mom some props in this area of expertise.
I would love to hear what she has to say. She'll probably blow my entire like argument out the water.
I'm certain
like,
she
won't.
The
Golem never existed.
She is the Golem.
She is the Golem. Wait a minute. Sometimes
I'm going to tell you
when you're not
later.
in the room, she just turns to stone. Okay, so anyway, there was the Pious of Ashkenazi. There's a documentary actually called The Golem, a legendary Jewish clay man and his impact on art, where they talk about the Pious of Ashkenazi, which is the Rhineland's Jewish people at the time. They were, quote, very sure of their capabilities, and they did what God desired, and they were complying with all the commandments, and that's why they could achieve what others cannot now. That's where we first find the accounts of rituals to create a golem that were also successful. So it was at this time where I guess just like the purest of Jewish people, they somehow had this power because they were so perfectly righteous that they could almost perform godlike acts, including creating life.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
And I guess throughout time, we've all just been slowly turning more into sinners, and we're less likely to be able to do that or something. But at the time, there was a specific group of Ashkenazi people who had this ability, like the rabbis.
Okay.
And so I just want you to remember that. And then also I'm going to come back right now to that phrase emit, the E-M-E-T.
Oh, yeah.
So putting that somewhere on its body, usually its chest or its forehead, that was part of the ritual to create a golem, to basically write the word for truth on the body. And that's, I guess, truthfulness is like the highest value in Judaism. And the three letters in E-M-E-T, so I know there's two E's in there, but there's only three letters that it takes to make up the word. Each of those letters, it's weird, but they're the first, the middle, and the last letter in the Hebrew alphabet. And also visually, I like how there's like a reason, like visually.
I know. I was just like, okay, I accept it, but there's a whole reason behind it.
Well, I read this and I was like, this feels like someone had ADHD. This feels like this is too specific. But if you look at the words E-M-E-T, apparently visually the letters rest on very wide bases, like they're wide letters.
Ah, yeah.
And that suggests that truth itself stands on a broad and stable foundation. Like, holy shit. Okay.
Okay.
Listen, really
you don't need to tell me twice.
Really looking for all the metaphors here. Also, apparently the word sheker, S-H-E-K-E-R, which is the opposite of truth. It stands for falsehood. All the letters in that are either narrow or round bases that suggest instability. So very weird. I don't know who.
Wow.
I don't know who realized that. I can't imagine that that someone
deep.
Hundreds of years ago. I think it was just a coincidence, but
it sounds like something like someone on pot would be like, hey, you know what?
It literally sounds like, you know what I just realized? Like,
yeah.
Truth and false are opposites, man. Like, it's something.
Eva, write that down so that hundreds of years from now, my wisdom will be passed to the generation.
Write down that M is like a really wide letter, you know?
And it spells M.
It's also the middle one of the
It's
alphabet.
Also your name. Oh my God. Everything's changing.
Shit. Well, anyway, so I just wanted to mention that because I had to read it and I was like, this is too weird. So anyway, because Emmet means truthful or truthfulness, or and that's like the highest value, that because these righteous, almost godlike Ashkenazi Jewish people, if they wrote the highest value on this thing, it was almost kind of opening up the potential for it to really come true, I guess. So anyway, so the other thing about it is, so the way that that Rabbi Low in that story would take the Shem out of its mouth to kind of deactivate it, or, turn it to stone. One of the cool things about if you were to write EMET on the forehead or the chest of the golem, it was like also just easier, which sounds like stereotypically like the most like Jewish thing in my family. Like, let's just make this as easy as possible. Let's just like really
just
like
get a Sharpie and
if you write EMET and you just erase the E, apparently it only spells met, which means dead. So like it like
that's clever.
It's clever and so simple. It's like, I only have to wipe off a quarter of the stuff that I've caused. Like,
I love that.
I think it's it sounds exactly like how I would invent something. Like,
absolutely,
just wipe away what you did. You're fine.
But then pretend it means something like really deep.
Yeah, but now it like also totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So you would just wipe off the first letter, and then all of a sudden the problem solved. So the people in Rhineland were able to make these golems because, again, they were truly righteous and could perform godlike acts and create life. According to legend, Adam, famous for Adam and Eve.
Of Adam and Eve fame. Yeah,
exactly. Adam was apparently a golem for the first 12 hours.
Oh.
Because he was made from the dirt, but it was, I guess, in the first 12 hours, he like didn't have like a soul or a personality or something. And so they just thought of him as like this living shell of sorts.
Okay.
Weird. I'm sure there's some Christians out there who are angry right now, but that's okay. In the Hebrew Bible, God brings Adam forth from the earth, and then God actually is the one who breathes life into him later, is what I think is closer to what the translation's supposed to be versus he doesn't have a soul. It was that like, okay, so step 1 was create him from earth, and step 2 will be the part that actually makes him alive because God will breathe life into him. So, so they think that's why also like golems should represent the earth, and they were made from clay because Adam himself was made from the earth. So it's just kind of a tie-in on how Adam
classic
and
Old Testament stuff,
Good stuff. People are made of ribs and mud. It's great. That's
the good old days.
As far as my religion understanding goes.
Pretty extensive, I would say.
So part of the Jewish tradition or Jewish beliefs is that the rabbi could create artificial man, but because the rabbi himself is not God, he could not actually give full power to these golems. So he could basically create it and create life only to a certain point, whereas God actually gives you like the power to like speak or just weird. I would think God is the one that gives you life and then everything else you can learn. But apparently the understanding is only God can give man the power to speak. And so a lot of times golems are mute. Actually, I think across all stories, golems are mute and don't speak because there's only so much a rabbi can create for them ability-wise. And one of the powers is they can't talk. And so in many Bronze Age mythologies, fun fact, God is depicted as a potter, and he's at a potter's wheel a lot of times making humans from clay. And
I love that.
And in the book of Job, Job tells Adam, you and I are the same before God. I too was nipped from clay. So it's just a lot of nods to like all life comes from clay and the earth. Mm-hmm. And so the golem is made from the same stuff as you and me. And one fun fact, apparently there is one claim that golems aren't made from clay, but they're made from wood. Because there was this one Jewish poet named Solomon Gabirol. It doesn't matter. I can't say. Gabirol. Solomon G. And he allegedly had some sort of like skin disease. And so he like ran away and like hid in the woods because he was embarrassed about it.
Oh, no.
But apparently he was able to make himself a golem out of the wood from the trees that he was living under. So apparently they don't just have to be made from clay. They can be made from wood.
Oh.
The weird thing about Solomon's situation, though, is like not that the golem was made from wood, but that he particularly specifically made a female golem.
Yeah, okay, that was my next question.
Yeah.
What were the intentions here? Got it.
It's not to maybe be a concubine of sorts, if you will.
Oh, goodness.
It seems like if you think about it, this is like not a cute look, but I mean, he wanted, first of all, a golem who is historically best known for being a servant to do your chores. There's no way, because you are not God, to give it the power to speak. So now it's a silent female servant who he is having sexual relations with. So
good.
Just everything perfect about toxic masculinity. And there was one rabbi in the 16th century who defended this situation because he said, since golems are not, quote, born from men's semen or grown in a woman's womb, sex with a golem is not a sin. Which then that could really get messy if it's like...
It gets messy real quick.
Yeah, that could very, very quickly trickle into some other stuff when you're saying like, oh, well, it's not made from a human or it's not human, so you can have sex with it. So
I'm just going to I was going to list a whole bunch of things. I'm just going to let everyone's imagination take their own stab at it.
Everyone else's imagination can run off and do what you want. It doesn't, we don't talk about any more of it, but I just wanted to make it clear that
2021, I'm going to step out of it for once.
This was in the 16th century, so luckily if we wanted to just totally cancel that person, he's already dead.
He's canceled.
So he's like physically canceled. He's like gone, physiologically canceled. So fun fact, Mary Shelley, who wrote Frankenstein, she actually took inspiration from the Golem legends because it was a creature created by man. In Frankenstein, she also does confront the ethical issues of creating artificial life, which we discussed during that episode. I think it was 195.
I loved that episode.
It's a real thinker because it makes you think like, artificial life, how far can you really go?
Yeah, because that one got into like true crime as far as like body parts and reanimating corpses.
And like a discussion on morals of like what's right and what's wrong. So
ethics of, oh my gosh, so fascinating.
So you can really talk about that also with the golems of like, you're creating something purely to serve you like blindly and just like, but at some point, if the fear or the superstition is the longer it's alive, the more powerful it becomes and the more human it thinks, then like, are you God by turning it off and keeping it from having its own thoughts? So,
and like, if it's becoming more human and you're having quote unquote sexual relations with it, how far along does it get to a point where you're like, it doesn't have a say? Like, I don't know.
Did it ever have a say? Yeah. Yikes. It could get real bad real quick. So here's one thing that's kind of like, it ends up being funny. So hang in there for a second.
Okay, I'm hanging.
Today, golem is actually Hebrew slang for an idiot. And it's because one of the arguably funniest parts to me about a golem is in their personality is that they take things way too fucking literally. And so
like Amelia Bedelia.
I literally wrote like Amelia Bedelia. I recently have started, we all know I love to collect things, and eBay won't let me buy Pokemon cards anymore. So I've recently been trying to recollect all the Amelia Bedelia books.
I love Amelia Bedelia, dude.
Amelia Bedelia was one of the only books that I fucking loved.
I think like
reading.
That's where we formed our sense of humor, was maybe like from those books.
That girl was kooky as ever. She was so funny.
Wow, she made me laugh.
Draw the drapes and she'd just sketch you a picture.
Oh my God. I still think of that every time someone uses the word draw or stuff the turkey or whatever. I mean, oh my God.
Oh, Miss Bedelia. I loved her so much. I really hope I can collect all the books. It would be very fun for me. So
can you read them to me at bedtime? Because I haven't read them in ages.
If anyone would like, if you have old Amelia Bedelia books lying around and you want to send them to our P.O. box, I will happily take them. Okay, so they take their job way too literally. So if your owner or your creator said, can I have some water? They would literally go out, and because they were also freakishly strong, they would pick up the entire well and try to bring the well into your house. Or like, I need some firewood, and they would pick up the tree, roots and all. Oh, no. And then it would it was like a very beautiful dramedy of like the tree would fall on your house. Like it was like just terrible circumstances would happen.
And
so
they're like, are you happy? And you're like, oh no.
and they're did I do well? And so so now it's slang for an idiot.
Okay, all right. I didn't see that coming.
So here's a description of what a golem is supposed to look like. Around 8 feet tall, with glowing eyes and a thick belt around its waist. Although that image specifically comes from a film in the 20th century called The Golem, How He Came Into the World. I have not seen this movie, but according to the internet, it seems like it is pretty pivotal in the golems being seen in a lot of pop culture today. Oh. So a lot of the references you'll see about a golem have to do with that movie being made. But I did also hear that it used a lot of creative license when telling the history of the story. Apparently it got real like dark magic-y. Versus like trying to describe the history of religion. And apparently there was a few notes that it had some anti-Semitic undertones.
Oh,
so
dear.
Just if you're going to watch it, just be prepared for that. Let's see. So before the film, the original description of a golem was that they were slightly thinner and more human-like, but always tall and muscular. But at the start of the 20th century, the golem started looking a little different, like having the belt around its waist and being kind of, I think, like maybe sort of pot-bellied or something. And it started a following that way in pop culture because there was a book called Der Golem, D-E-R. It's German. How do you say it?
Oh, yeah.
Der?
Der, yeah.
Der. Okay. Golem.
yeah, you got it. You got it.
And it kind of depicted the golem as like scarier versus it being like a hero or a laborer or something like that. It was kind of more of like kind of spooky looking.
Like a villain. Yeah,
I guess so. So this is still probably the most famous version. So a combination of that and then the golem from the film in the 1900s.
Okay.
So like Frankenstein, Golem is a loose interpretation for films about AI or machines in general who develop human tendencies. Also, the head of the Neurorobotics Research Lab in Berlin, their name's Manfred Hild, and basically they were talking about how the more a golem becomes a human, the likelier that they are more destructive towards their surroundings because they are less obedient. And Manfred said, it's basically the same concept for golems and robots where fear has become the main element because robots and AI are our version of golems in that it's the farthest we can get without creating life.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, so that makes sense.
I think that's a really good way to look at it of like, we can only build so much with the technology or the abilities we have, but there's no breathing true life into it. So it's almost soulless life.
Creepy.
And then so the golem also, if you're looking for one of the other ways that we have been inspired by the golem, there's a poem which people have heard of, I think, called The Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Uh-huh.
And here is basically like a quick excerpt / blurb explaining the poem. As an old sorcerer departs his workshop, leaving his apprentice with chores to perform, tired of fetching water by pail, the apprentice enchants a broom to do the work for him using magic.
Oh God,
I'm
which scared.
Enchants a broom to do the work for him using magic in which he is not fully trained. The floor is soon awash with water, and the apprentice realizes that he cannot stop the broom because he doesn't know that magic required to do so. The apprentice splits the broom in two with an axe, but each of the pieces becomes a whole broom and takes up a pail and continues fetching water, now at twice the speed. At this increased pace, the entire room quickly begins to flood. When all seems lost, the old sorcerer returns and quickly breaks the spell, and the poem concludes with the old sorcerer's statement that only a master should invoke powerful spirits. So
Fantasia traumatized the shit out of me when I was a kid.
And that poem adapted was adapted into Disney's
The
Fantasia.
last time I was in LA, Eva and I, like, before you came over, Eva and I spent like a solid half hour talking about how much Fantasia traumatized us as children.
You know what's weird is I don't think I realize it traumatized me, but if anyone were to ever say, do you want to watch Fantasia? My first thought is absolutely not. So like,
No.
I think it's because it's just, let's put it this way, if we were to tweet it out, we would say, if you watched Fantasia as a child, you have anxiety now. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's a fair argument.
There were 3 VHS tapes that I hid from my father because he like read me Franz Kafka as like a bedtime story. So he loved watching me like in turmoil. But so the 3 VHS tapes I hid from him were Fox and the Hound, Dumbo, and Fantasia. Because I was like, these 3 are, and they did stick in my brain forever. So those are under my mattress for a long time.
Dumbo traumatized me. I think that was a brave choice of Disney to recently make a live action version of that compared to other movies.
I didn't understand. I was like, no, thank you.
Of all the movies, you're going to pick the one that like most people have the worst crying experiences to. Mm-hmm. Like you couldn't pick Little Mermaid. You couldn't pick,
literally anything
else
besides Fox and the Hound.
You know, it would be a precious live action, and the day it happens, I'm going to squeal. So I have 4 favorite Disney movies, and they were all the quote boy movies, if that even is a thing, which it is not. But like I liked Hercules and Tarzan a lot, but my 2 favorites were The Fox and the Hound, which apparently I'm a masochist, and then also Oliver and Company. If they didn't,
that was so good.
If they did a live action of Oliver and Company, I'd lose my fucking mind. No,
okay. I thought they did, but I could probably be completely.
I think it's the reverse because Oliver and Company is from like the live action Oliver Twist, which is from the Broadway
Maybe
Oliver.
That's what I'm. Yeah, I'm probably making this up.
If they did, I don't know about it, and I'm about to go frantically Netflix it. So
yeah, I could wait. Yeah,
Oliver and Company is a live action. There's no way.
It says Kristen Bell, Bill Hader. Maybe it's coming up. Maybe I just like.
Wait, it is coming up? Oh my God.
Wait, I don't know. It says Kristen Bell's in it.
Is Dodger Billy Joel? Hang on a second. I gotta see something.
But now it's not in like IMDb or anything. So, wait, it's a casting thing. Maybe it never actually happened.
Oliver and Company live action.
No, okay.
Everyone needs to know at the same time together.
And it's a fan cast. It's not
Damn
real.
it.
I know.
Anyway,
sorry. I think I probably fan casted it myself.
Well, I am excited that Hercules is becoming a live action. So
very, very excited. Also, I just made a realization that this is like Eva, write this down for my therapist later. Oh. I just realized my 2 favorite animals are elephants and foxes.
And they're the movies you refuse to watch in Disney. Maybe you have the most...
and they traumatize me because the like victims in those movies were the baby elephant and the fox.
Also, so the Fox and the Hound was actually much fucking worse. Because it was like adapted from like something like a Brothers Grimm or something. Like it was.
Yeah, they were both really bad. Dumbo was like his mom was like caged up and like tortured and taken away. I mean,
well, no, listen. I mean like the Fox and the Hound Disney movie is like arguably much less traumatic than the.
Certainly so. Yes,
I think like in the real one, like the dog like tears them to pieces or something.
Something awful. I'm certain that's right. That sounds very
like
German.
The hunter like forced the dog to like eat his best friend or something. It was really terrible.
It's no wonder that like my parents thought it was fun to watch these as a family. But yeah,
anyway,
those are my favorite animals. It's just a weird connection I made.
Anyway, Fantasia, right? Remember that?
Right.
So here's a fun fact about Fantasia. Apparently Walt Disney, when they first premiered it, they decided that they wanted to like stimulate the senses of the audience. And so they put perfume in the theater during the Nutcracker Suite. And they also did the smell of gunpowder to fill the room during the Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Well, that's not frightening at all.
No. I know a lot of Broadway shows do that, though. Like, they'll do, like, the smell of a certain food in the show or something. Or, I mean, it's not uncommon, but I think it was probably, like, ahead of its time back then.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know that existed. Also, gunpowder is a scary thing to smell in a crowded theater, just saying.
Well, apparently not back then.
Not back then.
And also when the whole theme of the entire thing is anxiety.
Terror.
Like, let's also smell gunpowder. So another fun fact is that the film's music conductor, Fantasia's music conductor, actually originally pitched to Walt Disney that instead of Mickey be the main character and play the Sorcerer's Apprentice, he pitched that it would be Dopey from the Seven Dwarfs. Which
that's fun.
I think it kind of actually would have worked really well to like, I mean,
I think it would have been less anxiety inducing.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it makes sense though if it were going to be Dopey, the one who like didn't know his like the magical powers he needed to be able to, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It does make sense. I think it makes sense.
Apparently Walt Disney was like, that was the stupidest idea I've ever heard.
Well, okay. All right.
So the Golem legend has also been found in many folk tales. There's a Yiddish and Slavic folk tale called Clayboy. And apparently it's like a weird combination of the golem and then like the gingerbread man. And the story, I guess there's a million different versions of it, but the general premise is that a couple makes a child out of clay and there are disastrous consequences. So,
okay, that sounds about right.
So one Russian version is that an older couple whose children left home wanted another kid, so they made a boy out of clay. And when the clay boy comes to life, he starts eating all of their food and he won't stop growing. He soon is eating their livestock. Then he eats them. Then he destroys the village and then a goat kills him.
Oh,
so
dear.
It gets real out of hand real fast.
Sounds like a Disney film from my childhood.
Sounds like the early adaptation of a movie for sure. So in the Czech Republic, there are many golem touristy things to do. I forgot to Google what things because I wanted to give you a list. So sorry about that. But everyone take a little googs if you'd like. Throughout the Czech Republic, it's also, the golem is still a very popular figure. You can see statues, signs of the golem. You can buy little figurines made of clay if you'd like. You can also visit Rabbi Lowe's grave, which apparently Michelle Obama has done. So,
cool.
If you want to be like Michelle Obama, go visit Rabbi Lowe's grave. You can also visit the old Synaprague, if you will, the Prague's old synagogue.
It sounds like a Cinnabon.
Look,
it's just making me hungry.
Maybe they could have Walt Disney pump in the smell of Cinnabon in the Synaprague, and then we've like got ourselves really something going.
A marketing opportunity. Yeah.
Cinnabon, are you listening? Okay. Prague? No? Okay.
Prague? Eva, I told you to get Prague on the phone. Are they here yet? Okay. I guess not.
So, like I said in the original legend of the Golem of Prague is that he's still waiting in the attic of the synagogue to be reactivated so that he can help protect the Jewish people again when they need him most. And I keep wanting to call it the Synaprague because I fucked myself up. The Golem, Jesus. The golem has been seen in a lot of pop culture. I already mentioned The Simpsons. It's also used a lot as a creature in games, so like D&D. Apparently, the golem in Dungeons & Dragons is a monster that is made from either flesh, clay, stone, or iron, and based on what it's made of determines its strength. It is also in Pokemon. Hello, golem is number 76.
Okay, I'm starting to understand why I've heard this name before. This word.
Geodude turns into Graveler, who turns into Golem. So
right. Oh my God.
So Golem is, I mean, now that I'm looking at it, it makes total sense. I used to think he was like a rock turtle or something.
Yeah, same.
But now it makes sense that he is like just a creature that's made of like clay and rock. And he is like, one of his big like powers is he's like, you know, a protector and like he like everything can like bounce off of him and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and one of my favorite things about Golem, which like, I don't know if Pokemon was trying to do this, but it certainly fulfilled my stereotypical Jewish needs of my stereotypical Jewish family, is that Golem requires 100 candies to evolve, which sounds like me. Like, if you want me to be the best version of myself, I need minimum 100 candies. So
99 won't do.
It won't do. So you give me a bag of Reese's and we'll see where I end up tomorrow. And then, it's also, Golem is seen in Minecraft as apparently iron golems and snow golems. According to PC Games, an iron golem's primary function is to protect villagers. And despite being able to punch the life out of most things, this is like an actual like review, I think, or something. Despite being able to punch the life out of most things, they're also incredibly kind-hearted and can often be seen spotted offering villagers poppies that they can magically create in their own hands.
Oh, that's nice.
So that's sweet. So here's my favorite way that they have been mentioned, the golems. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Not well. They haven't been, not in a bad way, but I mean like not consistently. It was just like almost like a little cameo of sorts. But the Golem is apparently was mentioned in Marvel. So the Golem, I think it was like 10 different comic book issues. They're all from different series, but in 10 comic issues out there, the Golem is seen as a humanoid creature. They, by the way, Stan Lee or Jack Kirby or whoever at Marvel decided to create Golem really didn't even want to fucking mess with the backstory at all.
Oh, interesting.
This is how Golem, the superhero, was created. Golem is a humanoid creature made in the 16th century from clay by Rabbi Lowe to protect Jewish people from persecutors in Prague.
They just copy and paste that wiki right in there.
They were like, we don't even want to mess with this.
Love it. Yeah.
So their superhero story, there's 2 different Golems. I think in 2 different series, it was like a different alter ego or something that becomes Golem. So one of them was this archaeologist named Abraham Adamson. And he was looking for the stone. He had always heard about Golem, and he wanted to find Golem. Finally finds Golem, and then something happens to him where he is dying right next to Golem, and so he ends up putting his life force into Golem. At the same time that he's dying, he's praying that his family would be safe and something would protect his family. So he becomes Golem, a protector, and basically he's reanimated as Golem. And I'm pretty sure like the superhero thing is like, I don't know if you know this, but like Superman with kryptonite, or like like once he's near kryptonite, like all of a sudden his powers are going away, or like his powers are really like his real source of energy is the sun. So if he's like not near the sun for very long, his powers start to weaken. Apparently Golem, if he is not near land for very long, like near the earth, then he loses his strength. He like becomes less and less superhero like. So in one of the issues, he's like at sea the whole time, and he's like becoming weaker and weaker.
No.
And so let me see. Apparently he's 8'6". He's 1,600 pounds. This is the superhero.
1,600 pounds?
Just a safe 1,600 pounds.
Hey, remember when you said the Yeti was 8 feet tall and 200 pounds?
This thing is literally 8 times heavier and 6 inches taller than the Yeti.
Oh my God.
/ the abominable snowman. If you're listening from our last episode, I covered the abominable snowman.
Right.
So 8'6", 1,600 pounds. Apparently his superpowers are that his strength is drawn from the earth. He is durable, aka he can take like shockwaves and bullets and explosions, and like nothing hurts him. And he's apparently stronger than Captain America. His first appearance ever was in 1970 in The Incredible Hulk, and that was the Abraham Adamson one. But then there's another alter ego or a different character that becomes Golem one day, and it was more historically, I guess, pivotal. This was in 1977. The Golem shows up in The Invaders, and this guy's name is Jacob Goldstein, which, like, wow, they really ran with, like, the classy Jewish names. So he was apparently in a Jewish ghetto during World War II, and he became Golem purely to fight the Nazis. So
wow.
I'm down with that, too.
Yeah.
The enemy, this is kind of weird, and I don't totally understand it, but the enemy of Golem is Kabbalah, which is literally like the word for ancient Jewish tradition and mysticism. But like the villain's name was Kabbalah also.
Oh, the villain's name. Oh, got it.
Yeah. So the bad guy was Kabbalah, and he had like these little minions who worked for him that were all different demons made from the elements. So like they had, so Kabbalah would tell like air demons or fire demons or water demons that they had to fight Golem. So it was all like weirdly, like they paid attention to the history before they made this comic. And then I'm just going to end on my favorite fact of them all is that the Golem at one point was also a member of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s Howling Commandos, which if anyone is a Captain America fan knows that the Howling Commandos were the unit that Captain America led in World War II. And so apparently the Golem is from the same unit as Captain America.
Oh.
And he was, guess who else was in the Howling Commandos, apparently?
I don't know, you?
I wish. The fucking abominable snowman.
Shut up.
So apparently Marvel had like a series called like Monster Force, and they were all about like weird cryptids. I've never known this. But
my God, how weird is that?
So the unit Howling Commandos, apparently there's a whole series where it's Howling Commandos has this break off they're called the Monster Force of the Howling Commandos. And two of the people on it were the Golem and the Abominable Snowman. And so the Abominable Snowman, I'm going to say real quick, his alter ego was Carl Hansen. And he was an explorer looking for the Abominable Snowman, and he steals a cursed picture of the Yeti in the Himalayas. And over time, as he climbs the mountain looking for the Yeti, he becomes the Yeti.
It sounds a lot like stealing that finger and all that.
Yeah. You know? So the Abominable Snowman actually at one point worked with the X-Men. He was also known for being able to like take, he was bulletproof and all that. He had superhuman smell. Apparently he was a pilot. Good for you. And he first appeared in 1960s Tales to Astonish. And here's the trifecta here is in one of the issues that the Abominable Snowman is mentioned in on the Monster Force with the Golem. The Abominable Snowman teams up with Sasquatch to fight Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Stop! How weird is that?
Anyway, that's the Golem / a little Marvel trivia for you.
Wow, that really ended on an M note there.
On a weird note. I had no idea about any of that comics. I have to go read that now for sure and catch you up on what Sasquatch is doing with Captain America or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Because you did like the Yeti back to back with the Golem. That is so bizarre. Well,
I did the Golem second, my notes for the Golem second, and I was reading about this Marvel shit, and I was like, Howling Commandos, that's so wild. And then it said, also with the Abominable Snowman. And I went,
weird.
I'm sorry, did my own notes get accidentally copy and pasted onto this page? What happened? And apparently they're both mentioned on this like Monster Force. I think it's a pretty recent series. I think it's from like this decade or something. Like it's not like a classic, but still like I'm going to go check it out. So anyway.
Wow. Okay. Well, that was cool. You kind of bridged a gap there without even knowing it.
Sure did.
Okay. Well, let me just check real quick. Cause earlier I Googled if Golem was Golem. I don't know, but I don't know. Apparently it's very much argued on the internet whether or not Golem had anything to do with
But now that you know the history, it does. I mean, he's supposed to protect the ring. I mean, so that makes sense.
It does make some sense, yeah. And he does kind of look like he's made of clay, like he's kind of gray and weird looking. But
he is kind of gray and weird looking. You're right. So, I mean, who knows? Did Dr. Renata say anything about Golem?
Oh my God, she always says something. I said, "Do you know what a golem is?" And she said, "Yes." Oh. So that was good. And then about 10 minutes, and then like, I guess a few minutes later, since I didn't respond, she sent another text message that says, "It depends on the country. I kind of think of it as a vessel. You can put good and bad in it, and it stands for whatever you need."
Oh.
So.
Well, it was seen, for a long time across the traditions as like a symbol of hope and protection during times of like genocide and shit. So I guess it is like based on how you manifest it or perceve it. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting too, depending on like which country was experiencing what kind of persecution or whatever. Sometimes a dwarf is just a dwarf and a golem is just a golem. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy the movie. Okay, Seth, geez.
Get over it, Seth.
God, I'm sorry. I'm just curious about the history behind the movie.
Damn. Okay. All right.
So apparently, probably not is the answer. So my bad. Okay, Emmethy.
I'm ready. I'm so excited.
I'm starting 2021 out with a bang.
Oh.
For you today, Emmethy, first story of 2021, I'm covering The Son of Sam.
Oh, man. Okay. I was going to say my aunt has a story, but she doesn't have like a legitimate story. But my whole family was from the area. My mom also was from that area at the time. And so they all at least kind of like how I've told you, like I remember like little moments of like the DC sniper, like having to run from the car into buildings and shit. My mom and my dad and all of his siblings have said like, oh, we remember like no parking here, no doing this. Like if you drove near this area, you tried to find another route, like just because there were Son of Sam.
It was like he was like terrorizing the area.
Yeah. So I think it's that's fun. I've heard my mom kind of sadly reminiscing about like the times where she had to be nervous. That's
interesting.
So anyway.
Wow. Okay. Well, I wonder if you'll make any connections here. So let's just crack into it.
And Son of Sam, by the way, in case anyone else is wary, is a legitimate actual criminal. This is not the Grinch 2.0.
Oh, Yeah, Linda remembers him well.
Well, look, I think for generations we all remember the Grinch pretty well, and somehow it totally escaped me. So just
no, Son of Sam, I think, is one of those that gets quite a
following. I think
quite a following, yeah, in one way or another.
Yeah.
So our story begins July 31st, 1977. Stacy Moskowitz and Bobby Violante were on their first date, sitting in his parked car in Brooklyn's Lover's Lane when Stacy spotted a figure lurking in the shadows.
Shit.
She asked Bobby to leave, but he convinced her it was nothing to be afraid of. But he would forever wish that they had driven away. Because unfortunately, moments later, the man walked up to the car and shot both Stacy and Bobby.
Oh my God.
Tragically, Stacy died and Bobby survived. However, he lost his left eye and was blinded.
Wow.
Fortunately for police, though, there had been a witness.
Okay.
The witness had seen a man getting away in a car that had a parking ticket on it. Only a handful of tickets were given out that day, one of which belonged to a man called David Berkowitz.
Yep. Okay.
So, rewind. A lot of this info is from my favorite site, Murderpedia. As most of you know, I just love Murderpedia. It's like basically like an amalgamation of just tons of articles on like a single killer, all kind of like laid out.
It's like it's the Christine Bible, if you needed.
Yeah.
For the Christine Chapel, as some would call it. The
Christine Chapel, that's our testament.
That's your testament. Yep.
Okay. David Berkowitz was born Richard David Falco to a woman named Betty Broder on June 1st, 1953.
Ugh.
Here we go. Gemini season.
Did not have to attack me like that, Christine.
Yeah, I know. This is a pointed attack from the universe, I think, at us specifically. And you know how people are always tagging us in those memes that are like, most serial killers are Geminis. I'm like, well, yeah, we're not denying it.
Well, like we know. Don't make me mad then and keep telling me.
Yeah, exactly. Then why don't you step off? Yeah. Like, it shocks me 0% that any serial killer would be a Gemini. It just fits, you know?
Yeah, it's absolutely very emotional people.
Yeah, very, very emotional.
Too emotional that some of us are emotionless, actually. So.
Yeah, exactly. So he was born in Brooklyn on June 1st, 1953. So Betty, his mom, was also bringing up a young daughter, but she had begun a relationship with a married man. And apparently his wife actually knew about it, and they'd like sometimes have dinners together. So it wasn't like a secret, like it was a secret to the outside world, but in the family, like this man's wife knew he had a mistress.
So they were potentially like just poly before it was like accepted by the world.
Sort of.
Okay.
I think the wife just accepted it because she didn't really have a choice. Okay. I don't think it was like, this is fun for me as the woman. I think it was like,
got it.
He's the man. He gets to do what he wants. Is more of the understanding I've gotten.
I see. I won't attach the poly community to David Berkowitz. Yeah. Then
I'm not going to put labels on this because it's just not a good look. So
got it. Anybody. Apologies to everyone listening.
To everybody.
I was going to say to the poly community, and I was like, no, just
to everyone.
Just like a general apology to fill the gaps, if you will.
Yeah. So the wife apparently knew about this, but the one condition of Betty being supported by this man that she was having an affair with was that she could not get pregnant, because they were like, if anybody, like he was like, from the outside world, I'm like a great husband and family man, and if it gets out that I have a mistress with a baby,
right,
like, this is just not a good look. So the one rule is that she not get pregnant. Well, I think we can all guess where this is going. Oops.
Maybe in 9 months, there was a little baby crying in the background of the story.
A little itty bitty baby. So he was not happy, obviously, but Betty didn't have enough money to continue a livelihood without his support. And so basically Richard, the baby, was put up for adoption when he was just a few days old, and he was adopted by Nathan and Pearl Berkowitz.
Uh-huh.
So they were Jewish American hardware store retailers, and they had been trying for a baby for a long time and were very ecstatic to finally have a baby. And they changed his name. So his name originally was Richard David Falco. So they changed his name to David, and then his middle name, and then gave the last name Berkowitz. So When he was about 11, his mom and dad told him that he was adopted, and this completely blindsided him, especially because they kind of fudged the truth. So they told him that instead of saying that his mother had given him up for adoption, they said his mother had died in childbirth and that his father wasn't able to care for him. It didn't have like the means necessary to care for him. And I think they might have had good intentions, but this backfired because for the rest of his childhood, he had this guilt that he had killed his mother in childbirth.
Ooh,
and that like his dad maybe hated him because he was the reason his mother died.
I mean,
so
I first of all, I hope that's a sad feeling to have, but like I also like I feel like if I were in that situation, I would feel the same way. I'd always wonder.
Completely. Especially as a kid, like you don't know any better, I'd be
like, what was the emotional process for having to give me up? Was my dad excited because he was getting rid of the thing that like hurt someone?
Did he not want me? Yeah. Like, so he felt unwanted and he felt like guilty because he felt that he was the cause for his. So, they didn't, I don't think, intend that, but that's kind of what ended up happening.
What comes from it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, sorry. So he was known to be like actually a very smart kid. He had a high IQ. I think his IQ was like 118 at the age of like 7 or something. Like he was
big.
Real smart.
My IQ is 2000. So like,
oh yeah,
yeah. He doesn't hold a candle to me.
And you're only 8.
That's the truth. That's the truth.
But with his high IQ, he also had some pretty intense behavioral issues. In later testimony, he recalled. Now this is kind of a long quote, but hang in there.
Okay.
Ever since I was a small child, my life seemed to be filled with torment. I would often have seizures in which I would roll on the floor. Sometimes furniture would get knocked over. When these attacks came, it felt as if something was entering me. My mother had no control over me. I was like a wild and destructive animal. My father had to pin me to the floor until the attacks stopped. When I was in public school, I was so violent and disruptive that a teacher who had become so angry at me grabbed me in a headlock and threw me out of his classroom. I was getting into a lot of fights too. Sometimes I started screaming for no reason at all. Wow. So he was a troublemaker, for lack of a more specific word.
Also, yikes, seizures. I feel bad for him. Yeah, in that one regard ever. So just
well, and I'm not. It's not clear whether he was like having seizures or whether he
was faking
it.
I
mean, spoiler alert, later on he claimed that he had been possessed by the devil. So
who
knows how much of it is like
scrap what I just said,
health issue, or because there was never any mention of like he actually had a seizure condition. That's not something
got it. Okay. Well,
I think he mostly was referring to like having fits and like tantrums. And
got it.
Throwing things around. But I mean, it could be. But so despite his outbursts, he was extremely close to his mom. His parents, for what it's worth, were like very loving. They really, really cared for him. Apparently he was somewhat spoiled, being like the, only child that they had wanted for so long. But unfortunately, Pearl passed from cancer in 1967 when he was only 14 years old. And he was like completely gutted. Like he was devastated by the death of his mother. At the age of 18, Berkowitz graduated from Christopher Columbus High School in the Bronx and then attended Bronx Community College for a semester before being enlisted in the U.S. Army. He qualified as an infantry sharpshooter with the M16 rifle and went on to serve in South Korea, where he excelled as a proficient marksman.
Ooh,
so that comes into play,
depending
on how much you know of the story.
Well, you started it with someone got shot in the eye, so...
Oh, that's right. I already told you that part.
And another person also got shot and died. So
I'm like, how mysterious? And you're like, no, you literally already said that.
Like, one can take a hit. Remember, my IQ is 2000. So
that's right.
Got to be quicker than that.
Like 6, so it's fine. I
together we average out to be a pretty good team, I think.
That's true. Yeah. I literally, I'm still on the same page and I'd already forgotten the entire beginning. So good for me. So let's see. He excelled as a marksman, and early in his army service, for whatever reason, he left Judaism to become a fundamentalist Baptist. He just kind of one day decided to walk into a Baptist church and said, this is for me now, I guess.
Okay.
It's kind of unclear why. It is speculated that when he joined the army, he was still a virgin, and that his first sexual experience during his 3-year service was with a sex worker.
Okay.
And let's just say it didn't go well for him because afterward he contracted venereal disease And this is thought to have greatly exacerbated his anger toward women. So,
okay.
He hadn't really had any sexual experiences before then. And then when he did have one, it ended very poorly. Sure. And that just was not a good step in his life toward a murderer.
Yeah. Got it. Checks out.
I think so. Eva, put it on the whiteboard.
Eva, does it check out? Yes or no? We'll do a poll.
Just say yes or yes, because I don't want to hear no. I don't want to do it.
We're going to do a poll, and you're going to answer, and then that's the answer.
And you're going to say the right answer, yeah.
Yeah, and the answer is yes.
After finishing military service in 1974, Berkowitz returned to New York, where he got a job as a letter sorter for the U.S. Postal Service before working as a security guard. And so this is a fun fact. I don't know how much Seinfeld you watched at all growing up.
My family was more of a Friends kind of household, but I do know of Seinfeld.
Yeah, my family was none. I liked Friends, and Blaze's family was definitely Seinfeld. So, it keeps things interesting in this house.
I think we've all aged into becoming a Seinfeld family. Back in its prime, we were a Friends house, but now as time goes on, I'm liking Friends less and liking Seinfeld more. So
yeah, I would agree with that. But I get the merits of it.
But I'm not in I'm not a huge fanatic, so I don't know how much I would know based on what you're going to say next.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. Can I do a complete 180 tangent here? Not tangent, just a note. Yeah. Because I meant to say this at the beginning of the episode, and I feel like such an ass for not mentioning it because I was going to mention it last episode. That I was just on an episode of Astonishing Legends, and I got to read a personal story from my family. It's an astral projection story, and I got to read it in their Christmas special. And I literally had it written down on this paper, and I just went, oh my God, I didn't mention it at the beginning of the episode. I got too wrapped up in my singing.
Oh my gosh.
So, complete side note, that has nothing to do with Seinfeld, but
I was going to say, we took a lot of turns there.
I'm so sorry.
I like how your excuse is you got wrapped up in your own singing. We know. We know what happened. Don't worry.
Oh my God.
I also got wrapped up in your singing. Yeah, it happens. It's okay. Okay, but anyway, sorry. We'll mention it at the end of the episode too.
Okay. I just feel bad because I was like, shit, I told them I was going to mention it in this episode, and then I completely blanked. So I'm really proud of it. So go listen to it. Okay.
Back to Seinfeld.
God damn anyway, they're like, what show is this? Okay.
Whew. So everyone's got whiplash right now.
I'm sweating a lot. So I don't know about you guys, but that's where I stand. So for Seinfeld fans, the detail about David Berkowitz working for the Postal Service is referenced in an episode called The Diplomats Club, where Kramer asks Newman to bring over his mailbag worth thousands of dollars as collateral for his gambling. But the bag isn't any old mailbag. It actually belonged to David Berkowitz. And then at one point, Newman even jokes about dogs speaking to him while he's on his mail route. So depending on how much you know about that story,
right,
the rest of the story, that will make sense later. But there is there was a joke in an episode about he got a hold of David Berkowitz's original mailbag.
Huh.
Okay.
Cool.
So back to the real story. It was when Berkowitz returned from the army that he decided to look into his biological parents. He was both shocked and elated when he found out that his mother, Betty Falco, was still alive because he had been living with this guilt for his entire life, basically.
Wow. Can you imagine, now you are your formative years are over. You have developed under the guise of you killed your mother, or according to yourself.
In your own psyche. Yeah.
In your own psyche, that's what you've built up your identity as. And now all of a sudden, it's too late to say never mind. Now you just have this information, but you grew up and turned into this person who believed this other thing.
Yeah, you probably internalized it so much. It's hard to revert that. So I listened to an episode of Serial Killers, the podcast show it was a 2-parter, and they had a voice actor reading a lot of his quotes, a lot of Berkowitz later quotes describing this. And he basically, just to paraphrase, he said something like, a lot of people thought it was a really fraught and terrible reunion, but it was actually a really happy reunion when I met my mother. So just, I don't know, worth noting, I guess.
Sure.
According to him, they had a happy reunion, but he eventually lost contact with his birth mother. He also learned about his sister. Remember, his mom was raising a young girl when she got pregnant and gave the baby up, but she still had so he had an older sister now at this point.
Cool.
He began working a number of blue collar jobs, and after hearing about his what his mother called an illegitimate birth and how his father basically didn't want him because he wasn't going to fit into the family. This belief was growing in him that he was unwanted, not just by his own mother now, but by all women. Oh. He just started feeling like the world, specifically women, were out to get him. And let's just say he lashed out about that. So neighbors originally didn't really think much of Berkowitz. He wasn't like a huge character like some of these serial killers are, like outwardly speaking. He kept to himself. He was known to be odd. Like a friend remembered, quote, "He used to laugh a lot by himself. He'd roar and couldn't stop, but he wouldn't tell you anything about it."
That's like me on TikTok in the other room.
It is like you. Oh, don't worry about it. I'm not going to tell you what it is. Don't worry about it.
It's just I don't know if you won't get it. It's okay. You
wouldn't get it.
You had to be there.
You had to be there in my TikTok.
You had to be on my couch in silence with me.
So apparently feeling isolated by the world around him, he became what you do, an arsonist.
Oh, well, what else?
You know how it is. According to his meticulously kept diaries later found in his apartment, Berkowitz was responsible for around 1,500 to 2,000 fires.
That's almost one for every pound that the golem is.
Oh,
wait a minute.
My God. Can you imagine?
Wow.
Yeah. So he started most of them in Brooklyn before 1977. And as we've seen in the past, this behavior, pyromania, can often signal that something worse is coming.
Sure.
And I'd also like to add that this behavior started young. He started this when he was young. It wasn't like, oh, he was in his 20s now and he decided to start fires.
Time out. Hang on. I got to do math on that. How on earth how do you even find the time to do 1,500 fires? Hang on. 1,500 divided by 365. That means you have to do, that's not too bad. 4 a year. Wait, what?
Wait, no.
That's
if you're 365 years old.
Yeah, I heard it.
That's if you're the age of a golem.
Okay, so how old was he at this time in his life? Around 30 or something?
No, he was younger.
Okay, let's pretend he's 30. Okay, so
no, he's definitely way younger than that.
20?
I think he's 22.
Okay, divided by 22. But then also we got to think he probably didn't start the shit until he was 5, right?
I don't think he started fires till he was a teenager.
All right, so let's say 12. Well, I loved fire at 12. So let's say 10 years. So that's 150 a year. Okay, yeah. So 150 now divided by 12 months.
Yeah.
12 and a half a month divided by 4 weeks. You do 3 a goddamn week every week.
This is how I used to calculate how many dollars I had left to buy ramen after my PA job, and it was always -8, and I was like, oh. So
literally, he had to have been starting a fire in a decade. He had to start a fire every other day, basically.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Okay.
So I think probably he would set several at a time. I don't know. You'd think
he would just one in every corner. One in every corner.
Yeah. I'm in a mood to set fires. I'm going to run to 10 abandoned buildings and set them on fire. I don't know. But he wrote down every single one. So they never would have attributed these fires to him.
By fire number 8, I would have been so over logging that shit. I would have been
yeah, that takes a lot of, I worked as a Lyft driver and they were always write down your logs. And I found the log recently. It had 2 rides in it because I gave up after 2. I was like, this is too much work.
This is not
I kept driving, to be clear, but I stopped writing them down. I was like, weh.
Exactly. Just the thought sounds so tiring.
Yes, it does. That's just a spiral notebook. I mean, so that's how they figured out how many he had set. I assume not all of them turned into a major blaze. I think he was just setting little ones. I don't know. But so anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 fires. They were mostly in Brooklyn before 77. And according to his own accounts, Berkowitz, I forgot to also mention that coupled with the fire starting when he was young, he also liked to torture cockroaches, which is just a really weird and disturbing thing. He would try to drown them in glue and pull off their leg. It's just,
if you had to torture something, at least it's a cockroach, but also you really shouldn't be torturing anything at all.
And it also just shows a lack of empathy or
I fucking hate cockroaches.
I know.
First of all, I couldn't get close enough to fucking torture one. Yeah, but also, I just want them not near me. Yeah. Yeah. Torturing anything is no bueno.
It's not good. And it's if you're going to do that, who knows what else you're going to do.
Right. Yeah. Start with cockroaches, end with humans.
that's how it goes.
That's the saying. That's
always say.
That's the wives' tale. So,
according to his own accounts, Berkowitz's first murder was on December 24th, Christmas Eve, 1975. He walked up behind 15-year-old high school sophomore Michelle Foreman and stabbed her in the back with a hunting knife.
Fuck, that's like also a really, we've talked about this before, but that's a real gruesome way to kill someone. Like it's,
yes.
Like if I had to kill someone, it would be like the cowardly way of like shooting them from miles away or something. Like I could not with my bare hands thrust something into another life.
Well, it's interesting. They've like, so I also listened to an episode of True Crime all the time and they were like, theorizing why he switched from a hunting knife to a gun. And they were saying like, it probably was like such a up close and personal thing. And then he never used a knife again to kill. He only used a gun.
He was like, that was too intimate. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I know they say this like disproportionately women use poison and other means like gun, or I think so, right? Women use poison and
the way I've always heard it in my head is that women are more sneaky and thought out about it and like distance themselves from the situation versus men being like on the scene doing
there's
the
like
action.
Strangulation, stabbing, like that's much more like hands-on, basically. Exactly. Anyway, so he walked up behind 15-year-old high school sophomore, stabbed her in the back with a hunting knife. Her injuries sent her to the hospital for 7 days, but she did survive. And then hours after that stabbing, he attacked another woman, and she's actually never been identified. He stabbed her repeatedly, even in the head.
In the fucking head? How do you... I don't even... Okay.
Ugh, it's just sick.
It's just hard for me to even imagine the head because, like, in my mind, there's no, like... In my head, it has to be, like, the knife would retract on itself because it's a skull. Like, it's hard... Know. It's hard for me to think you could stab through bone. Anyway.
Yeah, so and it wasn't, like, the face. It was, like, the head, which is so weird, you know?
Jesus, that's really intense. Okay.
And so, to clarify, at this point, he was only 22, so... That's kind of why I gave that guesstimate. Sure. So I'm not actually sure when the fires began and ended. But the stabbings were his first murders, according to him, were when he was 22. So those were the only two stabbings that he ever did, as far as we know. So his next attack was 6 months later in the early morning hours of July 29th, 1976. 18-year-old Donna Loria, a young woman training to be a New York medic, and 19-year-old Jody Valenti, a nursing student, were sitting in Jody's car at 1 a.m. after being out at a disco. Donna opened the car door to leave and noticed a man quickly approaching the car. Startled, she said, "Now what is this?" The man pulled a .44 caliber revolver from a paper bag he was holding. This is weird. Crouched down, braced one elbow on his knee, aimed his weapon with both hands, and fired. Donna was struck by one bullet that killed her instantly. Jody was shot in her thigh, and a third bullet missed both of them. The shooter then turned and quickly walked away. That
is very odd. The crouching down and like setting up.
So that's like where we get back to like the marksmanship that he learned in the war or in the army.
No, it makes total sense. It's just like it's so
creepy.
First of all, I can't imagine anyone like, fingers crossed, I'm never put in a situation like that where someone could possibly point a gun at me.
Yeah.
But also it's just like, if that were to happen the way I have envisioned it in my mind, at no point in any circumstance have I thought like, okay, so now they're going to set up. Now they're going to get down on one knee. And then like they're going to do the wind up. It's like just extra eerie that like you're watching the intent happen before your eyes before like just like,
oh my God,
it's that extra weird.
So extra creepy. And like, just like the
wind up of it all.
Yeah. There's like a formula and like a process.
Yeah, it's not like in my head. Like if I were to ever get hit with a bullet, I would think that it would happen so instantly that I wouldn't have time to process what's going on. But in that situation, like you're allowed to think.
You're like watching it unfold. Yeah,
you're like, holy shit, I'm watching. Yeah.
Oh, I know. It makes it so much creepier. Honestly, like even like resting his elbow on his knee. I mean, it just adds such a creepy element to it. So when questioned by police, Jody said she didn't recognize the killer as someone she knew, but she described him as a white male in his 30s with a fair complexion, about 5'8", weighing about 200 pounds or 91 kilograms. His hair was short, dark, and curly. And interestingly, Donna's father claimed to have seen a similar man sitting in a yellow car parked nearby. Neighbors gave corroborating reports to police that they had also seen an unfamiliar yellow car cruising the area for hours before the shooting.
Weird.
And now I'm thinking, if you're a fucking murderer, get a silver Toyota. Why are you driving around in a yellow car? Like,
well, that's why an SVU, every time they identify as like, oh, they're in like a black SUV, they're like, well, we're just never going to fucking find this guy then because everyone's got a black SUV.
Can you imagine an episode where they're like, oh, lucky us, he's driving a yellow Volkswagen Beetle with eyebrows on, eyelashes on the headlights or whatever the fuck people do.
With paint and blood and just all of it spells out, I'm the murderer right in front of right on the side of the car.
It's me.
Mario. And you can, here's my phone number. You can find me here. Yeah, that'd be really convenient.
Oh my God. I know. It's just like, wow. Okay. So this guy's like just trolling around in a yellow car. So on October 23rd, 1976, Berkowitz struck again. So this now 3 months later or so. So it was about 6 months later. Now it's about, or 7 months later. Now it's about 3 months later. And as we go, as you can probably guess, the time periods get shorter and shorter, the intervals.
Yes.
So October 23rd, 1976, Berkowitz struck again, this time in Flushing, which is in Queens. 20-year-old Carl Denaro and 21-year-old Rosemary Keenan were making out in their car. Ayo. When suddenly the side window just shattered. Rosemary immediately started the car and drove back to the bar they had come from to call for help. Remember, they don't even have cell phones, so it's like...
God, I can't imagine.
I know it sounds so millennial, but I'm like, oh my God, you have to like drive somewhere for help. Like you can't even.
It's especially wild because when I think of them back then, like the concept of a cell phone wasn't even thought of. So it's not like they knew of an option, of any other option. But for me, if I like time traveled to a time like that and then I was in trouble, I would have extra anxiety of like, I know a simpler way. Like I know a way.
Come on, give me an iPhone.
Or like having to call 911 with a rotary phone. Good night.
Take like so long.
9 is the farthest away. 9 is the farthest away.
Honestly, I used to think about that all the time. I was like, why isn't it just like 111? Like that would
Truly.
make sense.
Why isn't it just 1? How come there's not like a special situation where you only have to press it once?
Oh boy. And we're brilliant, you and I.
Listen, they don't call me the expert in user design for nothing.
That's correct. They don't call you that. Period. Okay, right. The window shatters. They rush back to the bar for help. And it wasn't until they like got help that they realized the window had been shattered because they'd been shot at. Like they didn't even realize why the glass had shattered because they didn't see the shooter.
They felt like a rock hit the window or something.
Yeah. They thought maybe like something had hit it or like a rock. Although apparently they then realized Carl had a bullet wound in his head.
What?
So I guess the adrenaline just like didn't catch up with them until they got there.
I get it. I mean, I feel like, there have been times where like I got really severely hurt and I told myself, I was like, do not look because
your adrenaline like takes over.
I was like, once I look, I know how bad it is. And, and I'm not going to look until like I'm already next to bandages and a doctor. But but like it's never been bad enough where it was a literal bullet wound. So I feel like if that were the case, my adrenaline wouldn't be able to kick in that intensely. I'd be like, no, like even though I'm not looking at the wound, like this one's pretty bad.
I can tell something's wrong. I wonder though if the window shattered, maybe he thought he got hit by a rock. Like who knows what he thought maybe hit him, you know? Or,
yeah, you're right.
I don't know. But like, cause like why on earth would you think somebody was right outside your car while you're making out with someone? Like, I feel like your brain would just not process that.
Only you
away.
and I would, because we have. If there were, if there were true crime podcasts back then, like cell phones, then people might be more scared at the time.
Yeah, probably no one would be safer, but we'd all be more scared. So great, that's fun for everybody.
Higher alert.
Okay, let's see. So both Carl and Rosemary survived the attack, and neither of them saw the shooter. Police determined the bullets were .44 caliber, but they didn't initially draw a connection between this shooting and the previous one because they were occurring in two separate boroughs of New York. So, I mean, obviously, like shootings in New York, it's not immediate that you would like piece two together, you know?
Right.
However, the type of gun was becoming a trademark for David Berkowitz. So barely a month after the attack on Carl and Rosemary, shortly after midnight on November 27th, 1976, 17-year-old Donna DeMasi, a senior at Martin Van Buren High School, and 18-year-old Joanne Lomino, a recent graduate of the same school, were sitting on Joanne's porch in Belrose, Queens after a night out. As they talked, a man approached them dressed in military fatigues. He began to ask them for directions in this like strange high-pitched voice.
Weird.
Before taking out a revolver and just like shooting them on the spot. Like as they started to give him directions.
That's like, then why'd you even take the time to ask? Like,
it's so bizarre.
Why didn't you just, it says something about like how this guy seems to want to get close enough to look people in the eye first. Because like, you would think if you just wanted to kill them, like you could have done it when you spotted them from across the block, you know?
Yeah. And he had a thing, quote unquote, for women with, or girls or women with dark long hair. And so
that's why my mom was terrified. She was
I thought of that when you said Linda. I was like, well, yep.
She was like, I gotta go. I think a few of her friends had like blonde wigs in their car or something. I remember.
Yeah, there are like interviews where people are cutting their hair off. They're putting buns.
Or like dyeing their hair or something.
Or dyeing their hair.
Just to like not have.
Apparently hair dye like sales went through the roof in New York City for that reason.
Very weird.
Very wild. Very wild. So he shot them. They both fell injured and the shooter ran away, but not before firing several shots blankly into the apartment building. Like not aiming for them, but just like out of like excitement or exhilaration. He just kept shooting. Miraculously, both survived. But Joanne was, I know. That's the other weird thing. A lot of people end up, not a lot, but like a few people end up surviving.
Luckily, like for a marksman, he was pretty bad at it.
I know. Like, that's what kind of gets me too, is I'm like, I thought you were,
Does he ever make a statement like he wanted these people to die? Or is it that he just wanted to hurt them? Because maybe if he's like,
no,
a good marksman,
he actually made a statement that he didn't ever want to hurt anybody. He only wanted to kill them. So like the opposite.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. So, both survived, but Joanne was paralyzed from the waist down and then suffered from paraplegia. So still a rough outcome. Police were able to determine that the bullets were, again, from an unknown .44 caliber gun. So on January 30th, 1977, only about 2 months later, 26-year-old Christine Freund and her boyfriend of 7 years, 30-year-old John Deal, who was planning to propose to her 2 weeks later on Valentine's Day.
Jesus, why did you have to say that?
I know. They were sitting in John's car in Queens after having gone to see Rocky in theaters. And suddenly, shots were fired into the car. John suffered minor injuries, but Christine died of her injuries at the hospital, and neither of the victims ever saw the shooter. After this shooting, police finally took all of these cases and publicly announced that they were connected. They observed that all the shootings involved a .44 caliber gun, and he was therefore now called the .44 caliber killer, and that was his initial moniker.
Sure.
And they told the public that the shooter seemed to target young women with long dark hair. So when the composite sketches from the various attacks were released, NYPD officials originally noted that they were likely searching for multiple shooters. So oddly enough, even though the cases were connected, the composite sketches that they made ended up looking like two different people. Oh. So we'll get into that, but it's just it's something to note, I guess.
Okay.
So at this point, the front of the New York, this became as you said, a colossal circus. People were terrified. I mean, this man was terrorizing New York City, and he was striking in different boroughs. It wasn't like he was isolated to one spot.
No one was safe.
Okay. The front page of the New York Post read, "No one is safe."
Jesus. Okay.
Maybe you were there in a past life with Linda.
Maybe. I was just watching out for her, making sure she dyed her hair blonde or something. I was just the little devil on her shoulder being like, it would be a cool idea right now. And it was just
shave your head.
Just shave your head.
My mom did shave her head in the 70s and 80s, so maybe.
That surprises me 0%.
Yeah.
Right.
It was for a Ray-Ban ad in a magazine.
Every time we speak, I have at least 10 questions about
every
what you're
time I
saying.
speak to my mother, I'm like, what? So don't worry. It's not just you. And then I ask her, do you know what a golem is? And she goes, yes. And I'm like, well, this is okay. Thanks.
The time where I need you to elaborate versus the time I wanted to hear nothing at all.
Versus the time my friends are over and I'm 13 and I really don't want to know about how you modeled for Ray-Ban. Okay, thanks. Oh, Dr. Mom. Okay. So The police tip line had basically, and this is NYPD, had never seen anything like it. They were receiving 100 calls an hour, according to Time. A police official told the magazine, women are naming their husbands, their ex-boyfriends. People are calling in about their coworkers, like saying, it's him. I think it's my husband or my coworker.
I like how everyone was like on top of it, though. They're like, we are ratting every man out in this city.
I know.
I don't care.
Even the one I'm married to and sleeping next to, like, yikes. Women were advised to either get shorter haircuts, bleach their hair, or wear it in a ponytail. Mm-hmm. Parents also insisted their daughters have their dates at home, which is very convenient, Dad, to be like, why don't you just have your date here in the living room where your mother and I can watch? Yeah. Also
very topical for, as we're in quarantine of like.
Yes, true.
Like, okay, well, you know what? It's been done before, I guess.
Okay, as you were saying that earlier about like going out and like avoiding, I don't know. I was just thinking to myself like, I wonder if serial killers that attack people outside are like shit. Like,
I wonder what the numbers are.
So much easier.
I wonder what the stats would look like in terms of like crime right now when it comes to like public violence, like how far the numbers have decreased, or if they've stayed the same in places where people aren't taking it seriously, or like if home invasions are like more on the up and up, or like I'd like to see
they'd be less common because people are home,
right? I feel like they're like, I wonder just violence statistics right now. You know, what'd be really sad though is domestic violence right now.
Well, that actually has been statistically proven to have gone up, unfortunately. Yeah. So that one we definitely know. I mean, you make a good point about home invasions because, like, you can't. It's harder to rob somebody when they're upstairs.
But what if it's like a serial killer who planned on hurting you anyway? Because it could be like a Night Stalker situation where they want you at home.
Sure. So you'd have to like differentiate between just like a burglary and like.
An assault
planned
or
murder.
Something. Yeah.
Yeah, an assault or murder, exactly.
Hopefully the answer is just 0 across the board, but like
let's just go with 0. I can't, my brain, it's too early.
It would be an interesting comprehensive study. So.
Somebody, Eva, can you figure that out real quick?
Eva, Can you get us a comprehensive study? Can you actually do all of the research and then let us know the data? Thank you.
Yeah, but just wear a mask. Okay, thanks. All right.
Just knock on every single person's door in the country. Wear a mask, you'll be fine.
Man, we're being real aggressive toward Eva today.
She's just paper shards and pencil shavings are flying off the table right now.
Poor Eva. Okay, so parents were like, have your dates at home. How fun. Okay. Mm-hmm. Some girls decided to dress in baggy clothing or skip dating altogether until cops caught the killer.
Fair.
And then definitely fair. A month and a half later, on March 8th, 1977, Columbia University student Virginia Voskerichian was walking home from class when she was confronted by an armed man.
Ugh.
In an effort to defend herself, she pulled her textbook over her face, but the bullet penetrated the textbook and struck her head, killing her.
Fuck.
So she actually just lived 1 block away from Christine Freund, who had also died previously.
Did that help at least? They could triangulate him a little bit?
You know what? I'm not sure.
Probably not if he's still just all over the goddamn place.
It seems like he's still kind of all over the place. Because I don't have a great grasp of geography, period.
No?
And definitely not of No, it surprises you to know. I mean, I even told people I lived in the wrong state for the last 6 months. So, so I don't know. I even visited Columbia because I don't know. My dad, I guess, thought I could get in. LOL. Spoiler alert, I didn't. But so I once went to Columbia on like a tour, but I have no idea where it is. And he lived in Yonkers. Uh-huh. So wherever Yonkers is in relation to Columbia University is where this shooting took place. But it says she lived a block away from Christine. So I don't know where she lived. Anyway, it's all very convoluted, but it's either a weird coincidence or it has to do with like his triangulation. Yeah.
Sure.
So, and then the following month on April 16th, 1977 at 3 a.m., a 20-year-old tow truck driver named Alexander Esau and an 18-year-old model and actress Jodina Soriani were hanging out in their car only a few blocks from the scene of the Jody and Donna shooting. So maybe he had like pockets of areas that he was targeting. When they were both shot twice. Both died, unfortunately, before they could talk to police. But investigators determined that they were killed by the same suspect in the other shootings with the same .44 caliber firearm. At the crime scene, though, there was something new.
Uh-oh, what?
A new twist to the MO. They found a handwritten letter addressed to the captain of the NYPD, Joe Borelli.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to read you this letter. And it is like
Bananas.
Yonkers bonkers, if
Wow.
you will. It's next level, and there are a lot of spelling mistakes. For example, he spells women Wemon, Wemon. So it's all over the place, but just bear with me while I try to read this to you.
It's like you're trying to morph it into the word lemon.
It does look like demon, lemon, yeah.
Women, yeah, all of it.
Women, woman. Yonkers bonkers. Okay. I am deeply hurt by your calling me a woman hater. I am not, but I am a monster. I am the son of Sam. I am a little brat. When Father Sam gets drunk, he gets mean. He beats his family. Sometimes he ties me up to the back of the house. Other times he locks me in the garage. Sam loves to drink blood. Go out and kill, commands Father Sam. This sounds like a terrible Dr. Seuss book. I'm realizing the cadence. Go out and kill, says Father Sam.
Yeah, Sam I am. It's like,
Sam I am. Oh God, he is saying I am Sam.
I will not drink your blood, Sam I am, or whatever.
I will not murder people on your behalf. Okay.
I will not do it with a giraffe.
Oh my God. Only with a 44 caliber rifle. Okay.
Yikes.
Go out and kill, commands Father Sam. Behind our house, some rest. Mostly young, raped and slaughtered, their blood drained, just bones now. Papa Sam keeps me locked in the attic. I can't get out, but I look out the attic window and watch the world go by. I feel like an outsider. I am on a different wavelength than everybody else, programmed to kill. However, to stop me, you must kill me. Attention, all police. Shoot me first. Shoot to kill, or else. Keep out of my way, or you will die. Papa Sam is old now. He needs some blood to preserve his youth. He has had too many heart attacks. Too many heart attacks. Ugh. Me hoot, it hurts, sonny boy. I miss my pretty princess most of all. She's resting in Our Lady's house, but I'll see her soon. I am the master, Beelzebub, the chubby behemoth. I love to hunt, prowling the streets looking for fair game, tasty meat. The women of Queens are prettiest of all. I must be the water they drink. I live for the hum, my life, blood for Papa. Mr. Borelli, sir, I don't want to kill anymore. No, sir, no more, but I must. Honor thy father. I want to make love to the world. I love people. I don't belong on earth. Return me to Yahoos. To the people of Queens, I love you, and I want to wish all of you a happy Easter. May God bless you in this life and in the next, and for now I say goodbye and good night. Police, let me haunt you with these words. I'll be back. I'll be back, to be interpreted as bang, 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 bank, bang. Ugh, yours in murder, Mr. Monster. Oh, I'm sorry. That gave me a headache.
So I disassociated halfway through there.
Yeah, I think he did.
I think if anyone were watching the YouTube channel and that were on my face the whole time, at some point my eyes deadened. I think
it definitely was one of those slow zooms on your face the entire time.
I checked out. I tried, and I remember hearing Happy Easter, and my brain was like, shh.
I think
no.
I think that's one of the ones where that lady was saying her husband complains about my laughter, that like if you're zoning out while you're like doing something at work and you like suddenly hear like a bang bang Happy Easter, you're like, wait, what are they talking about?
That was exactly, I just heard like, I mean, I think the first half of it I really was trying to process what you were talking about, and then you had me at like chubby behemoth, and I was like, I'm out. I can't.
Goodbye.
I can't figure this out.
What did you say last time? I am Santa. Goodbye.
I am Santa. Goodbye now.
Oh my God. I like this whole, he even wrote ugh, exclamation point. I'm like, yeah, ugh is how I feel too.
Okay. It started off almost like it was like a diary entry about like being like with an abusive father or something.
Yeah.
Then the dad also drinks your blood, and then now like the dad's kind of dying, and also now you need to go get him blood, but he's had heart attacks. Ugh. And then I got.
Oh, by the way, Happy Easter! Before I forget.
P.S. The bunny rabbit says hi. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm
the
lost.
Easter bunny. Goodbye now.
I'm Santa. Hello. I'm the Easter bunny. Goodbye.
There's a lot of things happening. Yours in murder, Mr. Monster. So.
I don't know where to. Should I try to start or begin? I think I should. No,
I think we should just not even try, because it just gets worse and weirder.
Did anyone ever try to like decode it, or did they read it one time and they were
There's
like,
not
okay,
really anything to decode? I think. Like, okay. I'll get into it more, but basically, what they did get from this is son of Sam. He calls himself I am the son of Sam. Yeah. And so instead of 44 caliber killer, now he gave himself his own moniker.
Which is like, yeah, kind of like really awful that they were like, oh, I'm so sorry. It's like,
it is weird that they took like the letter is so like and
it sounds very much like if he were like, actually those aren't my pronouns, and they went, oh, okay, so like from now on we'll call you this. Got it. It's
right. You're still going to hell, but I guess I'll respect your name.
But also like you're a serial killer, and like you already got a name. I don't want to even like give you the satisfaction of having a name you picked. Yeah.
Well, he later on says that he doesn't want the name, so don't worry about it.
This man can't make up his mind. Okay.
No, he cannot. So in the letter, obviously, Berkowitz refers to himself as Son of Sam. He expresses his desire to continue his shooting sprees, even though he, quote, doesn't want to. A police task formed at this point. Officers recruited psychiatrists to help them come up with a profile. Criminal Minds, anybody? Okay. BAU, all right. Spencer Reed, no? All right, just me.
Yeah.
Anyway. After consulting with several psychiatrists, police released a psychological profile of their suspect. He was described as neurotic and probably suffering from paranoid schizophrenia, and believed himself to be a victim of demonic possession. And quite frankly, they were spot on.
Really? Okay.
So 70 detectives worked the case full time starting in April 1977. Police volunteered to help on their days off, but there were really like no real clues or breaks in the case. And like witness descriptions were basically a man in his 20s with medium build. And like, it just was really hard to pin that down in a place like New York, especially.
Sure. Yeah.
So then on June 26th, that's like 2 months later, there was another shooting. 20-year-old Sal Lupo and 17-year-old Judy Placido had left a discotheque in Queens, and they were sitting in their car when Judy said, "This Son of Sam is really scary. The way that guy comes out of nowhere, you never know where he'll hit next." And then moments later,
shut the fuck up. That's so creepy.
I know. I have goose cam right now. And it's so horrifying. Moments later, 3 gunshots blasted through the car. And obviously, it's not like he knew they were talking about him. The windows were closed.
Were those her last words? That is horrific.
Well, both were struck, but neither was injured seriously. Okay. So it was not their last words, but it was probably the words that were seared into their nightmares for the rest of time.
Definitely the words, like, I mean, I've never heard of stronger manifestation ever. Like, I mean,
I know.
Even when you say, oh, I can't believe, like, you know, you have no idea where he'd be, you still think in that moment, but he's not here. Like, you know.
Like, yeah, right. Like, why would you? The odds are so
slim.
Outrageous.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just so wild. Like, the guy just shows up, and as you're saying, wow, this guy just shows up and shoots them. So they were injured, but neither of them died. Sal ran back to the club for help. Police offered composite sketches of the suspects in the shootings based in part on the testimony of people who had survived the shootings as well as witnesses. But again, there were these 2 separate images that were coming up, like the dark-haired man and then somebody else. Although publicly, police were insisting that there was only a single suspect being sought. So one sketch and description roughly matched Berkowitz, so medium height, slightly pudgy, with hair that was short, dark, and curly. But another suspect was reported to be quite different, a taller and slimmer man, a hippie sort, with jaw-length hair that was either light brown or dark blonde. So now police are thinking maybe it is the same guy, but he's wearing a wig.
Yep.
So on May 30th, 1977, columnist Jimmy Breslin of the New York Daily received a handwritten letter from the Son of Sam.
What does this one say?
A lot.
What does
a lot
say?
Of weird
It's going to be like, hi, I'm the St. Patrick's Day leprechaun. Goodbye now.
Happy Flag Day, before I forget.
It's Arbor Day. Let me tell you all about trauma that I'm not really sure exists. But also I'm a chubby behemoth. Do you get it yet?
That's the only thing you need to know. So... basically, the Son of Sam is a huge fan of this columnist, which must be the worst compliment ever. Just saying.
Right.
So the letter read, "Hello from the gutters of NYC, which are filled with dog manure, vomit, stale wine, urine, and blood. Okay. Hello from the sewers of NYC, which swallow up these delicacies when they are washed away by the sweeper trucks. Hello from the cracks in the sidewalks of NYC and from the ants that dwell in these cracks and feed in the dried blood of the dead that have settled into the cracks. Then the writer said he was a fan of Jimmy Breslin, noting, JB, I also want to tell you that I read your column daily and find it quite informative.
Oh, God. By the way, everything up before that, like, very wonderful compliment, you could have read any of that as Zach Bagans, just so we're clear.
Oh, yeah. Like, I regret it. Okay, I'll read this part then.
Yeah.
Ominously, the writer added, what will you have for July 29th? Which ominously was the 1-year anniversary of the Son of Sam's first shooting and was quickly approaching.
Ugh.
So a week later, after consulting with police, obviously he like sent this letter to police and they withheld portions of the letter, but they published some of it, urging the killer to turn himself into police. And he was later quoted as saying he actually... Breslin, was later quoted as saying he actually had admiration for the Son of Sam's writing style. He said, quote, I remember when I read it, I said, this guy could take my place with the column. He had that big city beat to his writing. It was sensational.
That big city beat. That's all you need. That's all you need.
They did note that, like, compared to the first letter, which was like so all over, like the sentences didn't even make sense. Like this one was actually coherent and like what, like thought, like there were thoughts.
Like, yeah, he was really trying. He was like, that first one, it wasn't my best work. It
was like a rough draft.
Let me really zhuzh it up. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, these were fully formed thoughts. So it was a little bit odd that they were so different. So despite Breslin's advice to stop killing, Berkowitz didn't listen. What a shocker. And he killed again, just the day after after the anniversary, July 30th, 1977. Police set up a sizable dragnet because they were expecting him to attack on that day.
Sure.
Or like around that day. And so like around Queens and the Bronx. However, this time the Son of Sam struck in Brooklyn. So oops,
whoopsies.
All over the place. So Stacy Moskowitz, age 20, and Robert Violante, age 20. In case you're wondering if they sound familiar, they are the couple from my little intro story.
Yep.
So Stacy and Bobby were parked under a street lamp on their first date, making out, and they were kissing when suddenly a man approached within 3 feet of the passenger side window, shot in the car, shooting both of them in the head. Stacy died tragically, and she actually would become the only blonde victim of the Son of Sam, interestingly enough. And although Robert survived, like I said earlier, he lost one eye. And although no one knew it at the time, Stacy Moskowitz and Robert Violante, or Bobby, would be the Son of Sam's final victims.
Wow. Okay.
And so that's why when I read that little intro at the beginning, I mentioned that there had been a witness this time who had seen the parking ticket.
Great story. Look at that's my best friend right there. Holy shit.
After the Grinch, I'm like, I need to zhuzh things up a little bit.
Are you submitting these for like the Pulitzer or something? I'm confused.
Yeah, I'm submitting a story about the Son of Sam to the Pulitzer, and
and also the Grinch, but posing him as a famed criminal.
Also to Jimmy Breslin, my favorite columnist. Okay. JB, I just want you to know I'm such a fan. Okay. So that evening, Cecilia Davis, who lived near the crime scene, saw a man remove a parking ticket from his yellow Ford Galaxy, which had been parked too near a fire hydrant. So that was clearly his undoing. She saw this man only a few minutes before the shooting, so she contacted police, who determined that, so they were like, okay, yellow cars in the Bronx who got parking tickets for being by a fire hydrant. Like, yes, we can narrow this down.
For sure.
So they figured out it was Berkowitz, and they thought, hey, this Berkowitz guy, he's probably an important witness. He might have seen what happened here at this shooting.
Oh my God.
Which, like, why would you immediately go like, oh, he's the murderer. He got a parking ticket nearby, But she was like, well, I guess I'll point out something odd that I saw. So thank God she did.
Yeah, true.
See something, say something. So they were like, so they called Yonkers, which is 12 miles north of Manhattan, says the internet.
Okay.
And asked the police for some help tracking him down. So a sergeant named Mike Novotny was at the Yonkers Police Department, and he said they actually had their own separate suspicions about Berkowitz in connection with other strange crimes in Yonkers, crimes that they say were referenced in one of the Son of Sam letters. So to the shock of the NYPD, they told NYC detective, what's his name again? Well, I already lost it. Sorry.
Okay.
They told the NYPD detective that Berkowitz might not be just a witness, but might actually be the son of Sam. And they're like, aha, okay, we misread the room, but let's like regroup.
Face first into the point. Yeah.
yeah. Thank you so much for that update, Yonkers. Yep. So when they investigated his car so they find his car, it's parked on the street outside his apartment. Police find a rifle in the backseat. They search the vehicle, find a .44 caliber bulldog pistol along with maps of the crime scenes and a letter to Sergeant Dowd of the Omega Task Force. So like bingo bango, they literally have every piece of this guy's crimes in one place.
It really like 0 to 100 in terms of imagine like missing your shift at the police department that day and you're like, what the hell happened?
You're like, I just slept in. My wife and I took a day off and slept in. You wake up for coffee and you're like, whoa. Oh my God. So they waited several hours outside for him to leave his apartment building. And when he did, he was immediately arrested. He didn't like fight or anything. The date was August 10th, 1977, and it was 11 days after his final murder. His first words upon arrest were reported to be, "What took you so long?"
Ugh, gross. It's still so smug and arrogant.
So creepy. Police searched his apartment and found it in disarray with occult graffiti on the walls. According to a Time article, the windows were covered by sheets to keep neighbors from seeing in. Pornographic magazines were strewn near the bed. One large hole had been knocked in a wall with an arrow pointing to it and a puzzling hand-printed message that read, "Hi. My name is Mr. Williams, and I live in this hole."
I'm sorry.
That's just like so odd.
That's the. Okay.
Who pulled the short straw to have to look in that hole? By the way,
who pulled the shorter straw to stick their hand in the hole? I feel like that's like when you personify Lemon too far. That's how I'll know when you've like. When you make little text bubbles and like you're like he
lives in the walls of my house. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Also on the wall was another irrational declaration that said, "I have several children who I'm turning into killers. Wait till they grow up."
Ew.
They also found a diary wherein Berkowitz took credit for dozens of arsons throughout the New York area. Later counted up to be,
3 a week for 10 years. Yep.
3 a week for 10 years, if our math is correct, which is probably not. And when Berkowitz was exiting the apartment, arresting officer Detective Falotico held a gun to him and said, "Now that I've got you, who have I got?" Berkowitz responded, "You know." The detective said, "No, I don't. You tell me." Berkowitz turned his head and said, "I'm Sam."
What? Also, it throws me because like he's been calling himself Son of Sam, and now he's calling himself Sam, and now I'm like, sorry.
I know, right? He's like elevated.
Family tree wise, I'm like, what is going on
Maybe
here?
He's Sam Jr.
Are you? Oh, I
don't know though.
Anyway, I'm like, are you the one that drinks blood or the one that gets blood for the one who drinks blood?
Or, I mean, this is far-fetched, but hear me out. Maybe he has paranoid schizophrenia and
bingo. Okay, that checks out.
Maybe. Maybe that's
the solution. Do we ever find out where the name Sam even fucking came from?
Well, I'll just tell you what he says, and you can decide if any of it makes any sense to you.
Excellent.
So Berkowitz quickly confessed to the shootings. He expressed an interest in pleading guilty in exchange for receiving life imprisonment rather than facing the death penalty. He was only questioned for about 30 minutes and confessed to all the Son of Sam killings. During questioning, he told a bizarre tale that seemed to demand an insanity defense. He said the Sam mentioned in the first letter was one Sam Carr, a former neighbor of his. Berkowitz claimed that Sam Carr's dog, Harvey, was possessed by an ancient demon and that it issued commands to Berkowitz to kill.
Okay.
So that's Sam.
Okay. I see.
Yeah. Okay, next page.
Okay, next.
Now, I want to tell you in advance, there's some dog cruelty, but it's not fatal. So just a warning. Berkowitz admitted to shooting the dog on April 29th in an attempt to kill it, but thankfully the owner brought it to the vet and he survived. He claimed that his aim as a professional marksman was spoiled due to supernatural interference. So that could also be why he thinks he didn't kill all of his victims.
So every single time that they all survived, it was
a ghost like pushed him out of the way. Yeah.
Right. Bingo. Okay. Got it.
Yeah. You get it. According to journalist Maury Terry's book, The Ultimate Evil, during his sentencing, Berkowitz repeatedly chanted, "Stacy was a whore," at a quiet though audible volume.
Whoa.
And he was referring presumably to his final victim, Stacy Moskowitz. And I believe her family was in the courtroom. So it created like this real uproar in the courtroom. Court was adjourned. Ultimately, he was sentenced on June 12th, 1978 to 6 life sentences in prison for the killings, making his maximum term some 365 years behind bars, which is weird because earlier, I just got goose camp because earlier you did the math of 365 years and how many shots or how many fires that would be.
By the way, he would have done 4 fires for every year he was in jail.
Okay, there you go. All right.
There you go. It ends up pulling itself together.
I was like, that's odd.
It is very weird.
He later claimed that the Hall & Oates song "Rich Girl" motivated his murders. So,
what a shame, because that's such a great fucking song.
It is a great song.
Now I don't want to listen to it.
Berkowitz survived.
Hall & Oates are probably like, yo, back off. Like that's
they're like, really?
Please don't ruin our song.
It's like the columnist who's like, thanks, but like, I didn't really want to be
It's
known
like
for
if
this.
someone said that they listened to our podcast when they're like killing people. I'd be like, okay, yo, you gotta not say that. Like promo,
you got it all wrong.
PR wise, not a cute look for us. Like, can you not
now
drag
we have
us
to like
in?
hire a whole PR team.
Also,
I don't
can
even
you
know
not listen to our show anymore? Thank you.
Also, like, yikes! But please leave a 5-star rating before you leave. Thank you.
Yeah. Just check out Kindly. Just with grace, with grace.
With ultimate grace.
Mm-hmm.
So Berkowitz survived at least one attempt on his life by a fellow inmate while in prison. His behavior reportedly earned him the nickname of David Berkowitz, which I find somewhat clever. I'm not going to lie. It's nicer than a lot of prison nicknames I've heard. So
no, I mean at least it makes like it's a nice.
It's a good pun.
It's a good pun. I'll say that for sure. As someone who appreciates a pun, they found quite a way to put 2 words together.
I would agree with that. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. Synaprague?
Oh, like I guess what's one example of a perfect pun that I can think of? Yes, it would be Synaprague. How strange that you and I both thought that is the only pun that lives up to the Berkowitz.
That's, you know what? I like how we both had a pun. That's where I'm going to leave it.
Level of skill.
Yeah.
In 79, there was an attack on his life. Someone slashed his throat like really brutally. I guess, according to True Crime All the Time, now if you see him in interviews, like he has like a huge scar on his throat from where he was slashed. He refused to rat out the guy who cut his throat, but he has claimed that it was directed by his former cult, which like how much of this is true, I don't know. Berkowitz claimed that he did not act alone in the killings. He says he was part of an occult group that sacrificed animals to Satan and ran a child pornography racket. There's really no proof of that.
Berkowitz doesn't help. It doesn't make it better.
No, it does not help. No. Berkowitz also claims that he is not the son of Sam Shooter, but merely one of the lookout men for the son of Sam Shooter, and that there were multiple other people involved. So now he's just kind of saying, oh, it's not me. It's all these other people. I'm
Sam, and I'll confess everything in 30 minutes or less.
Yep.
But I'm not son of Sam. So,
but also not. You get it, right?
Yep.
Okay. Berkowitz now describes himself as a born-again Christian and says that his obsession with pornography played a major role in the murders. I guess alongside Hall & Oates. I don't know. He sent a letter to New York Governor George Pataki asking that his parole hearing be canceled, stating, "I can give you no good reason why I should even be considered for parole." So he really is like, I'm in here and I don't have a good reason to get out.
So I like rolled my eyes very heavily when you said he became a born again Christian. So was it like a stunt, or does he legitimately think he's like completely repented?
Here's the thing. There is no way to know. My personal opinion, there's no way to know with a person like this, what is the truth, what is not. I mean, the number of stories, the number of like how mental illness has played a factor. It's just like impossible to know.
Well,
really.
and also like, did they I don't know if you know this, but in jail, like would they medicate him? Like, was he?
Oh, I don't know if he's medicated. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia. I do know that.
So I feel like I was gonna say like maybe he legitimately is trying to turn a new leaf, but like if they're not medicating him or if he's not in therapy, like then I guess I'm just not totally gonna trust whatever he's saying. So
yeah, I'm not positive, and like obviously I want to make it clear here that schizophrenia is not a like a trait of a murderer. It is not by no means what I'm saying, but obviously I think that diagnosis had something to do with like a lot of the erratic behavior.
It had initial play to it at the very least.
Yeah, like it had something to do with it, but obviously it's like, I mean, this is a very obvious statement, but not everyone with schizophrenia is a dangerous person and that kind of thing. I just want to be clear that that's the case.
This one sounds like he was not doing anything to treat his situation, though.
No, and I mean, he also clearly showed signs as a child of other pretty severe issues. Like, I believe he was also diagnosed with psychosis. I mean, he was torturing bugs, and that also, by the way, the animal cruelty is, I learned this from the Serial Killers podcast, animal cruelty is not associated with schizophrenia at all. So that was a completely separate thing. So that could have just been like a mix of many mental illnesses just like manifesting in a horrible all
way.
All
at once. Yikes. Just a melting pot of issues.
Yeah. Wow. Which I feel like we see a lot with these like really well-known serial killers. Like it's a combination of like their upbringing, their a head injury,
a lot of things not being taken care of or like maintained.
Or even just like bad luck, you know? I mean, I think in some instances, like there was no way to take care of, there wasn't a good way maybe to take care of certain illnesses, or they didn't understand mental illness or whatever. So yeah, no, I agree. I think it was just, he was cut out for a bad
didn't get a very delightful a delightful hand.
Yes.
When he started
That's a great way to put it. Yes. So anyway, all of this aside, he now says he is a born-again Christian. He's very adamant about it. He also asks now to be known as the Son of Hope instead of the Son of Sam, because of his new outlook on life. In June 2004, he was denied in his second parole hearing after he stated he did not want a parole hearing. The board saw that he had a good record in prison programs, but decided that the brutality of his crimes called for him to stay imprisoned, obviously. Berkowitz is very involved in prison ministry and regularly counsels troubled inmates. And one major side effect of his murder spree were the Son of Sam laws, which I find really interesting. I never really thought about. And the first of these laws was enacted in the state of New York after rampant speculation about publishers potentially offering Berkowitz large sums of money in exchange for his life story.
Wow.
And they were afraid that he would like make millions from telling his story.
Right.
And so they quickly enacted a new law. They called it the Son of Sam laws. And it authorized the state to seize all money earned from such a deal from a criminal for 5 years with intentions to use the seized money to compensate victims.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court declared those laws unconstitutional in 1991. I guess there's like some gray area there.
Oh.
But I thought that was very interesting. Last couple of things here. As of 2005, Berkowitz has written a series of memoirs, which he plans to publish despite outrage from the family members of his victims and victims' rights advocates. He has devoted his publishing efforts to bringing in funds for the victims' families. But then again, if they're asking you to please not publish them,
right? I
don't think it's a good, like, they're asking you not to do it. So saying, well, here, I'll give you the proceeds is like still a slap in the face, in my opinion. So Berkowitz can now be seen portrayed by Oliver Cooper in season 2 of Mindhunter, aka one of my favorite shows of all time. Check it out. And Berkowitz had basically, as you said with your mom, like it was one of those things you just remember if you were there or if you were in that time period with the killing spree. And it wasn't, I hate to say that many people, but it wasn't like a Ted Bundy level of, but just like his letters, like the terror.
I mean, it's like notorious. Like it's like
super duper. Yeah.
My mom always told me too, like with she remembers a part of the DC Snipers where if she had to like go into a store or something, she would have me like hide under like the seat of the car.
Oh God.
And or she remembers me thinking like, asking what the address was, because I asked like, can I have your cell phone so if I hear a gunshot I can know to call the police. And she says that memory stuck with her because it reminded her of when she would hide under the car console when she was with people running in somewhere because of Son of Sam.
Oh so my God. I mean, really, it's like
she was like, wow, I was like looking at a looking in a really sad mirror.
Yeah, no, it is. It's like, ugh, I hate that it repeats itself like that. But yeah, so obviously he's very notorious, especially the thing about like the dog told me to do it. Obviously, that's become like a really big part of the story.
Sure.
So the survivors were, of course, like wildly traumatized by what they've been through. And as Jody Valenti recounts, it took probably about 6 years of my life to be able to get in a car at night. It took a long time to be able to deal with the sounds of popping fireworks and stuff like that, but I faced my fears.
Oof,
and
yeah,
that is
I can't
the story
imagine.
of the son of Sam.
Wow.
Oh, but I do have a horoscope for you since he is a Gemini, and I just had to own it.
Sure. Okay.
Here's our horoscope for
Great.
today for Son of Sam. Gemini, you are embracing new ideas now, but it looks like you might be the only one. Everyone around you is behaving with extra caution around you, and what they fear might not be clear to you, and it doesn't have to be. You don't have to take on the burden of changing everyone's mind, but putting some effort in that direction will make you feel good. Pushing your agenda too hard will turn people off, but it will also show them that you're a person of substance and conviction. Make sure you're fighting for something that's worth fighting for. End of review. I mean, not review. That's from my other podcast.
Oh.
End of horoscope.
End of the show. End
of murder story.
I am Santa. Goodbye now. Yikes. Well, well done. Well done. I've that's one of the only ones that I know more or less the whole story of. So that was nice to finally get the whole picture. So thank you.
How comforting for you.
Comforting. Yay. Well, thank you. Do you want to do your shout out one more time for Astonishing Legends?
Yeah, sorry. I know I just but I knew I wasn't going to remember. And then the next time we record is going to be in weeks. And I was like, I'm never going to mention it. I was I got to read tell my story of when my grandfather had an astral projection experience. And it's a very cool story, in my opinion, anyway. And they put it in their holiday special episode. And so I was very honored. And a couple of people tweeted like, is that you in that episode? So I'm just very honored to be in that episode. And Astonishing Legends is one of my fave podcasts of all time. It's actually my ringtone too, but don't tell them that. It sounds creepy. All right, so that's that. Anyway, so that's all I've got. Happy New Year!
Happy New Year! Happy 2021.
We did it. Hopefully,
we'll actually let you know in 2021 if we've.
We'll
made it
let
or
you
not.
know. You'll find out.
All right, and
that's
why
we
drink.